Okay, the AFC North, Baltimore, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cleveland Browns. This is an old school division. The Baltimore Ravens won the division last year. They went 12-5. They've won it back-to-back years. Nobody's ever won this division 3 straight years. That's what Baltimore is shooting for. Pittsburgh Steelers went 10-7. They haven't won this division since 2020 when Ben Roethlisberger was still playing. You can see the quarterback position has been a problem for Pittsburgh. Cincinnati went 9-8. They have not won the division since 2022. The last 2 years, they finished 3rd and 4th place. They have a high-powered offense, struggling defense. And the Cleveland Browns, well, they're 3-14. They haven't won the division since 1989. That's 32 years ago. That's before you were born, wasn't it, Clay?
It was.
What about you, Jake?
For sure.
You look older, but that's a long freaking time. Baltimore was 31st in the league in pass defense last year. They drafted Malachi Starks in the first round to play safety. They got Jair Alexander, a good corner from Green Bay. Baltimore has 5 first-round draft choices in their secondary. They're looking to fix that. Pittsburgh gutted the roster, man. They got a ton of new players, new quarterbacks, new cornerbacks. They got a new life in Pittsburgh. We'll see how these veterans fast-track themselves. The Cincinnati Bengals have a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden. Comes over from Notre Dame. They're hoping they can get some of these young players on defense to emerge. And the Cleveland Browns, well, who is the quarterback? I mean, what the hell's going on out there? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. But in this division, there's a lot of decorated quarterbacks. Think about it. Cleveland has Joe Flacco, Super Bowl MVP champion. Aaron Rodgers is now in Pittsburgh. He's won multiple MVPs, 10 Pro Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, he's been in the top 5 of the MVP race twice. And Joe Burrow, to me, he's a badass. I freaking love Joe Burrow. And Lamar Jackson, for crying out loud, 20-9 versus the AFC North, 2 MVPs. The only thing that's missing for Lamar is that Lombardi trophy. But you look at the history of QB rating, the all-time history. Do you know that Joe Burrow at 101.2 is 4th all-time? Do you know that Aaron Rodgers, 102.6, is 1st all-time? And did you know Lamar Jackson at 102.0 is 3rd all-time? You got 3 of the top 5 QB rating passers ever in the same division with Joe Flacco, who's a world champion. He has no fear, none. Interesting. The other thing to keep an eye on is head coach stability. You know, I've been traded, fired, and trampled on. With this division, they got a lot of stability, man. I mean, Tomlin of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's in his 19th season. Can you imagine that? And Coach John Harbaugh in his 18th season. That's a lot of stability. Zach Taylor of the Bengals is in year 7, and Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns is in year 6. So a lot of uncommon coaching stability in the AFC North. The pass rushers, this is a group I would keep an eye on. Some of the best pass rushers are in this division, starting with Myles Garrett. In the last 4 years, who leads the NFL in sacks, Jake? Myles Garrett, he's number 1 with 60. Who's number 2, Clay?
T.J. Watt.
T.J. Watt has 58.5. And the third is Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals. He's got 57. So all these quarterbacks get to see these 3 guys twice a year. And the Ravens have more sacks than any other team in the league over the last 4 years. They got 196. But when you look at Trey Hendrickson, that contract issue he's having with the Bengals, think about this. Myles Garrett makes $40 million a year. T.J. Watt makes $41 million a year. And Trey Hendrickson's making $21. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. Come on, pay the man. And the kickers, well, Chris Boswell, I can say it firsthand. He will put you away. Boom, he's an assassin. 41 out of 44 on all field goals, 93%. The man is 13 out of 15 from 50 yards plus. And one of his misses was from like 64 yards. This guy's automatic. Evan McPherson, coming off a tough year in Cincinnati. They gave him a huge contract 2 years ago. He got hurt. hit 16 out of 22. He struggled last year, especially against the Chargers. And the Ravens, think about Justin Tucker for over a decade, putting people away. The all-time most accurate field goal kicker is out. They drafted this Tyler Loop from Arizona. I saw him kick a 53-yarder the other day. I went and watched the Ravens during OTAs. Tyler Loop, he can stroke it, man. He's got a leg. And then Dustin Hopkins of the Browns, he struggled 18 for 27 on field goals last year, just 17 out of 20 on PATs. His leg must not have been loose because they rarely score, you know what I mean? They don't do much with the football. But this division is wide open. I think the Ravens clearly are the favorite. Steelers made multiple changes, and when you got Joe Burrow, you got a chance. But I look up here. Each team has one major question, if you ask me here at the FFCA. Baltimore, is this Lamar Jackson's year to put it all together and dance through the playoffs to get to Lombardi? The Pittsburgh Steelers, how much does A-Rod have left? One of the best all-time quarterbacks. Can he put together one more great year with a new offensive system? Cincinnati, can they find a good enough defense to help Joe Burrow and this offense get it done? And Cleveland, what the hell's going on out there? We'll find out. Let's get into the Bengals. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals led by offensive head coach Zach Taylor. They made some changes in the offseason starting on defense. They brought in Al Golden, the former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, to run the defense. Lou Anarumo was let go. Golden was the linebacker coach for the Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but he did a great job at Notre Dame. He has some system intelligence when it comes to the Bengal organization. Al Golden is in to run the defense. This is the second straight year the Bengals have gone 9-8 and missed the playoffs. And believe me, with the quarterback like Joe Burrow, they are not happy about that. This is a very exciting offense. They can score a lot of points. They can throw the ball as good as anybody in the league, but boy, do they struggle on defense. This is one of the worst starting teams I have ever seen. It's unbelievable. In Coach Taylor's years in Cincinnati, since he's been there in 2019, the Bengals in their first two games are 1-11 over that time frame. 1-11, man. There must be something wrong with the pregame meal. Maybe the bus is bouncing in potholes on the way to the stadium. Is it the pregame speech? What the hell? They got to get that straight. So what they've done is they've come up with a new routine. You ever heard that song? I got a new attitude. They got to do something. So they're playing the starters more in the preseason. I don't think they had any joint practices with any other teams. They've changed the schedule. They're trying to change the way they start the season. But this year, the schedule makers helped Cincinnati. They open up at Cleveland, 3 wins and 14 losses. Then they play Jacksonville at home. So they should win those 2 games. And I think if Cincinnati starts fast, you better look out because they got Joe Burrow at quarterback. The defense has got to step up. Do you know the Bengals lost 4 games last year when they scored 33 points or more? That's never happened ever in the history of football. That's unbelievable, man. They got to pick it up. And they had some gut-wrenching losses. Bengal fans remember opening day, 16-10 loss to New England. Gesicki scores a touchdown to put them ahead. It gets called back. And then their backup tight end fumbles the ball in the end zone. Gut-wrenching. Week 5, they got a 38-28 lead with 9 minutes left at home against Baltimore. They find a way to lose that game. Then in Week 10, they lose to Baltimore again, 35-34. They miss up on a 2-point play at the end of the game. And then in Week 11, they're down 27-6 against the Chargers. What does Joe Burrow do? He brings them back. But McPherson misses 2 field goals. They lose that game. This is a good football team with a great quarterback, man. See why I got this orange hat on? Because I love Joe Burrow. They got to get it together. They've lost some people now. We talked about Lou Anarumo, the old defensive coordinator. I thought he did a hell of a job coaching personally. They let Zach Moss, a backup running back, go. Khalil Herbert, backup running back, gone. They let Trent Brown, a backup offensive tackle, go. Alex Kappa, one of their guards, is gone. And on defense, Sam Hubbard, a very good Cincinnati Bengal for the last several years, defensive end, retired. That's a big loss. Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, out. And at linebacker, their leading tackler, Jermaine Pratt, he had 143 tackles. They cut him. They let him go. They also let Mike Hilton, a very good nickel corner, go. That guy played a lot of key snaps. And Von Bell, the starting safety, also gone. So they lost some players, particularly on defense. Hubbard, Rankins, Pratt, Hilton, and Von Bell. Got to replace them. We'll see what they did. Coming in here, we talked about Al Golden, new defensive coordinator. They brought in TJ Slayton, nice money deal, big defensive tackle run stopper from Green Bay. They also brought in another backup defensive tackle, former first-round pick Taven Bryant. Linebacker Owen Burks came over from Philadelphia. He's a good player. He's a veteran. He can really help them in every down situations and on special teams. Lucas Patrick started some games at guard for New Orleans last year. He's in Cincinnati. And they just signed Noah Fant, pretty darn good tight end recently. Another pass-catching option for Joe Burrow. The rich get richer. You ever heard that saying? I would always say the poor get poorer. That was me down the street. Anyways, they also brought back Pirine, a big back who was with the Bengals at one point. And in the draft, they go out and they draft this Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Great combine, can really jump high and run fast. Really can. They got him signed finally. A lot of drama around the Bengals at defensive end, but they need Stewart to play. Demetrius Knight is a John Gruden favorite out of South Carolina. I think he's going to be their opening day starter at linebacker, replacing Pratt, who was their leading tackler. They drafted Dylan Fairchild, a pretty darn good offensive guard. He's got a chance to come in and start. He had a great PFF grading at Georgia. Barrett Carter, a fourth-round pick, linebacker out of Clemson. Offensive tackle Rivers out of Miami. And keep an eye on this Taj Brooks guy, all-time leading rusher at Texas Tech. They had a nice draft. A lot going on here in Cincinnati. Let's talk about the Bengals offense. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals offensively, it's a fun show to watch, man. They can really throw the ball. Head coach Zach Taylor, offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher work extremely well together. This is a team that has a superstar quarterback and superstar skill players. I remember years and years ago, the San Francisco 49ers, I remember like 70 years before I was born, but I did my studies. They had this thing called the $1 million backfield. They had Y.A. Tittle, Hugh McElhaney, Joe the Jet Perry, John Henry Johnson, and they talked about these four guys coming close to making $1 million combined. Well, hell, the Cincinnati Bengals spent $551 million on these three players, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. How about that? $551 million for three guys. Well, they averaged 27.9 points a game. That's sixth in the NFL. 365 yards a game. That's ninth. 273 passing yards a game. That is the number one pass offense in pro football. It is awesome. They gave the ball away 22 times. They took it away 25. They were +3 in the turnover margin. That's not too bad in the NFL. It all starts, I think, with the continuity between the head coach, Zach Taylor, his offensive staff, and their great quarterback, Joe Burrow. They let him do a lot at the line of scrimmage, complete trust with him, throwing the football in any situation. First down, fourth down, any down. They love it. This is one of the toughest cats to ever play quarterback. Remember, he's the comeback player of the year twice. This man has overcome some serious injuries, and now he's coming off a healthy offseason. So I think the best of Joe Burrow is in the future. They have all of his top three receivers back. Remember in the offseason, whoa, what are we going to do with all these receivers? They're free agents. Are we going to trade Higgins? They're all back. Higgins, Chase, and Gesicki are all back for Joe Burrow. And believe me, that's exciting. Last year, Joe Burrow almost won the Triple Crown. He led the NFL with 4,918 yards passing. He led the NFL with 43 touchdown passes, and he was fourth with 70.6% complete. That's unbelievable, man. 652 attempts, and you're completing almost 71%. I couldn't do that against air when I was playing at Dayton down the street. That's a fact, Jack. He's the first quarterback ever to have 8 straight games with over 250 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in the same game. Can you believe that? I wish I could have done that once. They love the quick passing game in Cincinnati. I mean, this guy gets rid of the ball quick and it helps everybody. But in pro football, when you look at some of the passing statistics, I always look at the quick game. 269 attempts in Cincinnati, number 1 in the league. 2,359 yards in the quick game, number 1. 21 touchdown passes in the rapid quick passing game, that's number 1. So the Cincinnati Bengals catch and release better than most teams in a long time. Burrow, when you study him, you will be shocked at how athletic he is and how much production he gets on second reaction plays. You know, Pat Mahomes gets a lot of credit for doing that, rightfully so. But when you watch Joe Burrow's 5 touchdown passes against the Raiders, I think every one of them is off schedule. I mean, it's an unbelievable job. He's getting out of trouble making a lot of second reaction plays. The other thing that's really impressive is his accuracy. A lot of these pro football focused statistics can measure that. There ain't nobody more accurate than Joe Burrow. This guy puts the ball between the numbers, away from the pressure of the defender like you can't imagine. It's awesome. Jake Browning, quality backup quarterback. He's 4-3 in his 7 starts. Now, let's look at the running back position because the Bengals were 30th in the NFL in rushing. A lot of people are probably saying they need a back. They need Joe Mixon back. I don't think so. They just don't run the ball very much. Well, would you run it with Joe Burrow and Higgins and Chase? Probably not. But they got this guy named Chase Brown. And if you're a fantasy football player out there, DraftKings, I saw this. Check this to confirm it. They have Chase Brown getting 875.5 yards this year. I would take the over. I would jump all over that. Last year, hell, he had 990. He caught 54 passes, and he had 11 touchdowns, second on the team. 7 rushing, 4 receiving. This is a 3-down badass running back. He is healthy, according to everybody I have talked to. This guy is really a good player. He's one of 3 running backs in the NFL to run for over 950, catch over 50, and have 10 or more TDs. This guy, Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson. You think he's pretty good, Jake?
Yep.
Are you sold, Clay?
I'm sold.
875.5. Look into that and take the over. Tell him Gruden sent you. Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator, has already come out and said he's going to be the focal point of our offense. And let me tell you how pro football works. If you got Higgins over there and Gesicki in the slot and you got the great Chase over there, you're going to get a lot of double coverage because people are scared to death of these guys. A lot of soft boxes. I look for Chase Brown to have a big year against really good looks to run against. Very important. Zach Moss, backup running back last year, is out. Remember, he hurt his neck. They brought in Samaje Perine. Played with the Chiefs last year, played with the Broncos the year before, but he was in Cincinnati to start his career. He's a big back that can help Cincinnati in short yardage, goal line, end of game situation. And don't forget this Brooks guy, Taj Brooks, Texas Tech, all-time leading rusher. I think that's where Bam Morris went. He had 4,557 yards rushing, and some of his highlight runs are pretty good. I like him. Receiver-wise, well, what can you say about Jamar Chase? He won the Triple Crown. It's only happened 5 times in the history of the NFL. I'm talking about most catches, 127. I'm talking most yards, 1708. Most touchdowns, 17. That's what Jerry Rice did. Sterling Sharp just went into the Hall of Fame. I got to coach those guys. And then Steve Smith did it. Probably did a lot of that damage against me. And they also saw Cooper Kupp do it. But Chase is the 5th guy to do it. And one of the greatest things I have seen in my life is Jamar Chase after the catch. I used to chart this when I was a receiver coach. Yards after the catch, Michael Irvin, Jerry Rice, on and on and on. And Sterling Sharp would say, I'm going to win that. And he did. But Ja'Marr Chase, 794 yards after the catch last year? I mean, that's not even close. That's 176 yards more than the closest guy. I mean, he just dominated it. And since he came into the league in 2021, do you know Ja'Marr Chase has almost 2,500 yards after the catch? That means he's really hard to what, Clay? Tackle. He's hard to tackle because he can make you miss and he can lower the boom and knock you out. This guy here is special, man. I love watching him play. You know what else is really impressive about Ja'Marr Chase is his fourth quarter finishing ability. A lot of receivers get tired in the fourth quarter when you're throwing it 652 times. 7 out of his 17 touchdowns are in the fourth quarter, and all 7 of them are over 30-yard touchdown passes. This guy gets stronger as the game goes on. He's looking to kick your ass. I wouldn't want to cover him. I wouldn't want to play against him. I'm glad I'm not. They also got T. Higgins re-signed. 73 catches, 911 yards, 10 touchdowns last year. They get into these trips formations or bunch formations, 3 Bengals to the right, and they isolate Higgins over here on the left by himself. Well, if all the coverage comes over here to the bunch side and Higgins is one-on-one, Joe Burrow can just go shred. I mean, Higgins is a beast. Big, strong, and he averaged 76 yards a game receiving last year. He only played 12 games. Remember, he got hurt. 76 yards a game last year, that still puts him in the top 10. He's a dynamite complimentary receiver to Ja'Marr Chase. They also have a good young receiver, Andre Iosivas. I try to say his name fast. I like it, man. Andre, say it again, Jake. Iosivas. He's from, where are you from, Jake?
He's from Princeton.
Oh, where are you from?
Virginia.
No, where are you from?
Czech Republic.
He's from the Czech Republic. Say that name again. Iosivas. Iosivas is good, man. He's got 479 yards, 6 touchdowns he had last year. Keep an eye on Iosivas in the red zone. All 6 of his touchdowns were in the red zone. I mean, you double Chase, double Higgins, Iosivas, he could kill you in the red zone. You also have this young guy, I'm hoping he gets it together, named Burton. Jermaine Burton, 3rd round pick. He comes in there, big play potential, only had 4 catches, 107 yards. Duke Tobin, high executive in the Bengal organization, had a good talk with him. Hey, get it together and show me something. They tell me Burton has put some good days together. If they get Burton, Iosivas, with Higgins and Chase, that's a real formidable crowd, man. Watch out. At tight end, they are led by Mike Gesicki, the ex-Miami Dolphin. He was their 3rd leading receiver, 65 catches, almost 700 yards receiving. But when you watch Gesicki play, 81% of the time he's detached. He's either at wide receiver playing by himself or he's in the slot. I thought a tight end lined up tight on the end of line. Gesicki lines up wide. He's in the slot or he's out wide. So you got to keep an eye on that if you're playing the Bengals. Which tight end for the Bengals is the blocking tight end? Well, Eric All, a very good all-purpose tight end, hurt his knee last year against the Raiders. I don't think they're going to have him. So a guy you got to really keep an eye on is Drew Sample. He does a lot of dirty work that nobody talks about because he gets no stats. You know, it's like Patrick Ricard of the Ravens. He doesn't have stats, but he's one of the straws that stirs the drink here for the running game and the play action protection, Drew Sample. They also signed Noah Fant. That's a big name. He's a former 1st-round pick of the Broncos. He's got 83 starts in the NFL. Last year in Seattle, Noah Fant had 48 catches for 500 yards. Thanks a lot. You gave Joe Burrow another weapon. But Gesicki, Noah Fant, Drew Sample, and don't forget about Tanner Hudson. Here's another good quality tight end, 19 catches, 154 yards and a touchdown. This is very good skill. They've been together for a while. They know the offense, and they're surrounded with Joe Burrow, who can take advantage of matchups when he sees them. But I think we got to keep an eye on this offensive line. This is where the rubber meets the road. They have two of the biggest offensive tackles in the history of offensive tackles. Matter of fact, they got two of the biggest offensive tackles in all of mankind. I mean, Orlando Brown, who had an up and down injured year last year, 6'8", 345. Over here, Mims, second-year player, former number 1 pick out of Georgia, 6'8", 350. But he looks 7 foot, 450. I mean, he's a monster. These are the biggest offensive tackles I have seen. Brown was hurt last year. Mims was up and down. They hired a new offensive line coach. Veteran Frank Pollock was let go. They brought in this Scott Peters guy, a new offensive line coach. He's a martial arts guy. He's got hand quickness and all these new tools for his linemen to use. You got to have quick feet and quick hands. Sorry for moving like that. But Scott Peters is going to try to get more out of these two monster tackles. They got to play better. Ted Karras, he returns at center. He'll make all the calls for Burrow. They'll coordinate that as good as anybody. But I keep an eye on these two guards. I don't know who it's going to be. Kappa left town. They drafted Dylan Fairchild, third-round pick out of Georgia. He was a good pass protector. In college, this ain't college, man. This is the prime time. Keep an eye on Fairchild. Cordell Volson has been a starter for the Bengals. They'll battle it out at left guard. And at right guard, who's it going to be? Lucas Patrick? He came over from New Orleans, but he's had some injuries in camp. I like Cody Ford, the ex-Oklahoma Sooner, played for Buffalo. He can play tackle and guard, but they have battles going on at guard, and they got two big tackles that got to play bigger and better this year. New offensive line coach. Think about this. The Bengals haven't given an offensive lineman a second contract since Clint Bowling in 2011. And they've drafted 20 offensive linemen since then. So none of these offensive linemen have really proven to the Bengals they deserve a second contract. There's a lot of pressure on this group to take care of what I think is the best quarterback in all of football. Let's take a look at the defense. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengal defense will be the most scrutinized group, I think, in football. They got an offense. They got a quarterback. They're going to score. If they can come back and make great progress, the Bengals can become a real threat to go a long way with this outfit. They have a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden. Remember, Al Golden was a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. He was the linebacker coach for the Bengals a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. And at Notre Dame, Al Golden, the Irish led the country in turnovers, number 2 in scoring, number 2 in pass defense, number 5 in third down, number 8 in the red zone, number 9 in yards allowed. Al Golden's defense played really good in college, but it ain't college, man, because Lamar Jackson's in the NFL. They got to make progress on defense. They let Lou Anarumo go. I was shocked. I thought Lou Anarumo was a great coach. They won their last 5 games with a bunch of injuries and young players. But they had a lapse in the middle of the season where they gave up 34 points or more 5 times in 8 weeks. And that forced Cincinnati, I guess, into changing coaches. So Golden is in, Anarumo is out. What the hell is going on with Trey Hendrickson? I don't know. He led the NFL in sacks. I mean, Myles Garrett got a new contract. TJ Watt got a new contract. Why doesn't Trey Hendrickson? Maybe because they put it all in on the quarterback and the 2 receivers. Maybe they don't have the money. It's going to be interesting because Hendrickson almost gets every sack the Bengals have. I mean, that's a real big loss if Hendrickson isn't there. They got rid of their leading tackler, Jermaine Pratt, and I think you're going to see Demetrius Knight, a second-round pick, take over as the signal caller. So you could have a team minus Trey Hendrickson and a rookie calling the shots at linebacker. They stayed with everybody in their secondary. They're going to let this young group play. And I used to ask ourselves, are we saving a bad idea by giving these high draft picks their 3rd, 4th season, or should we move on? Or should we give them a new coach, a new system to develop in? Those are the questions I think that Cincinnati is looking at in the secondary. But I think you got to take a good look at the Bengals defense from last year. We know where they ranked offensively, but they gave up a lot of points. 25th in the league. They gave up a lot of yards. 25th. Pass yards allowed. 21st. Third down. 23rd. Red zone touchdowns allowed. 30th in the league. Sack percentage. Think about this. 26th in the league. That's with the sack leader, Trey Hendrickson. What if they didn't have Trey Hendrickson? Who would get a sack? I don't know. They're in deep shit. They got to figure that out, obviously. But the biggest issue to me with the Bengals last year when I watched the film was tackling. Man, they missed a lot of freaking tackles. And I say screen entry. What does screen entry mean? Ask me, Jake.
What does it mean?
Well, when a screen pass is thrown over there, everybody has to enter at a certain level. You can't have everybody running in the same gap and let the guy cut it back for an 80-yard run. They gave up a lot of yards to me. Missing tackles, and their screen entry was not good. All right, let's take a look at their defensive line. Before we get into the edge rushers, let's take a good look at the inside players. They got some young guys in their front four that must step up. They brought in T.J. Slayton from the Green Bay Packers, gave him $14 million for 2 years. This is a 300-pound plus athletic guy that can use his hands, stay on his feet. He should really help Cincinnati stop the run. Sheldon Rankins is no longer there. It'll be Slayton doing a lot of dirty work for Cincinnati. B.J. Hill, 4th year as a starter, solid player. 2 veteran players that know how to play the game, but you got to have depth. I look for Chris Jenkins, former 2nd-round pick out of Michigan, to have a big year. I think he's going to explode onto the scene this year. He played last year with a club on his hand. He must have broke his hand. It's hard to play in this league, let alone with one hand. But he had 31 tackles and 3 sacks. I love number 90, Chris Jenkins. Make a note of that, Jake, will you? They also have a 3rd-round pick, McKinley Jackson. He wears number 93. These are 2 young defensive tackles that can play. I already told you they brought in Taven Bryan, a former 1st-round pick. He's wearing number 70. I don't know what his role is going to be. But this is a good nucleus of players. Jenkins is emerging. Slayton is brand new. I feel pretty good about that group. But what's going on the edge? Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks. Led the league, not just the Bengals. And he had 92 pressures. So he's the guy that did most of the dirty work. He's not, I don't know if he's even out there. You know, guys used to hold out and get fined about 50 grand a day. So now guys report, they call it a hold in. You just go to camp and you stay inside while everybody goes outside and you don't lose the money. The hell kind of system is that, man? You either practice or you don't. Get it resolved, Cincinnati. It's your best player on defense. He accounted for almost 50% of your sacks. You got to have him, man. We got to get this guy signed. They also have Joseph Ossai, man out of Texas, who really came on pretty good last year when Sam Hubbard went down. He had 5 sacks. He's a good football player. You'll see him. They drafted Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M in the 1st round. This has been another drama. It's Hendrickson 1 week and Stewart the next. They can't sign him. There's a problem with the contract. I get tired of hearing about it. Hell's bells. 3 years at Texas A&M. He only had 4.5 sacks on 600-plus pass rushes. Where's all the production? There isn't a lot. But this guy runs 4.59. He's 267 pounds, has a 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump, a 40-inch vertical. Ask me what that means.
What's that mean?
Nothing! We got to get him on the grass, and we got to get some production. Hendrickson, Shamar Stewart, and Ossai. Those 3 guys got to get it going. And the guy that really needs to get it going is this Myles Murphy, because he's another 1st-round pick out of Clemson. I haven't seen enough out of Murphy either. But the Cincinnati Bengals, a 1st-rounder in Stewart, a 1st-rounder in Murphy, they got Hendrickson. They have some guys that can get it done. They got to get them signed. They also have Cam Sample, a former 4th-round pick out of Tulane. They got to get it going with the edge. The linebacking core, I said it earlier. They let Jermaine Pratt walk. He led the team, 143 tackles. They let Akeem Davis-Gaither go, pretty athletic linebacker that had 77 tackles. So who's going to play linebacker? Well, they have Logan Wilson back, number 55. And he's one of my favorite linebackers in the league because he's consistently productive and he's comfortable and good in any situation. He's had over 100 tackles 4 straight years. The man has 11 interceptions. That's the kind of ball production you're looking for, man, with an every down linebacker. Guy's a hell of a player, and his effort is outstanding. When he's healthy, I mean, I saw him make a play against Kansas City last year. He must have run 40 yards like he was running for his life to make the play. I love watching Logan Wilson. The man to watch for in Cincinnati is Demetrius Knight. And I got a star with JG next to him because during the draft, he was my top-ranked linebacker. And I know you guys, Gruden, he doesn't have good drafts. Hey, I'm telling you, I really like this guy, okay? He's a badass. He started at Georgia Tech. He transferred to Charlotte. Then he transferred to South Carolina. He is an alpha dog. He's 25 years old. He's going to be 26 pretty soon. 229 tackles, 17 TFLs, and 4.5 sacks in his career. I think this guy is a mature, great communicator that the Bengals are going to love. Keep an eye on Demetrius Knight and Logan Wilson at linebacker. They drafted Barrett Carter in the 4th round out of Clemson. And they also brought in a good linebacker from the Eagles who could start and play a critical role on special teams. It's this Owen Burks guy. I mean, do you remember the opening kickoff in one of those playoff games last year? Playoffs! Do you remember Owen Burks? Boom! I mean, shit, one of the best hits I've seen. I like him. I like him a lot. I've always liked him in Green Bay. I liked him in Philly, and I like him in Cincy. So the backers, Wilson, Knight, Carter, and Burks. Those are the 4 guys you got to get to know. But where the rubber really meets the road in Cincinnati is in this secondary. It's the youngest secondary I can remember seeing. The average age is 24.5 years old. These are young guys like you, Clay, like you, Jake. They got to play better together. You know what I mean? They got to play better together, and they also got to play better individually. Hell's bells. They got to play better, period. I don't care how young they are. They miss too many tackles. They give up too many plays. And that's important. They have some really good corners that are talented, but they haven't put it all together yet. But I want you to remember this. They lost Mike Hilton, a very good nickel corner. He was a badass for the Steelers. He is still a heck of a football player. And they lost Von Bell, a veteran safety who had his struggles last year. But they're staying with these young corners, all 4 of them. Cam Taylor-Britt, he's a 2nd-round pick. Dax Hill got hurt in week 5, hurt his knee. They're easing him back in. He's a 1st-rounder. DJ Turner, another Michigan Wolverine, 2nd-round pick. He's been inconsistent and injured. And then down here they got Josh Newton as their nickel corner replacing Mike Hilton. He's a 4th-round pick. A 1, 2 2s, and a 4. These young corners got to play better against bunch formations, cracking and replacing. They got to play better on the ball. They got to play better, period. And the safeties, they're going all in on Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. Geno Stone took a little pay cut, what I'm told. He had 81 tackles and 4 interceptions. He's the oldest guy in the secondary, and he's 26 years old. And Jordan Battle, I want to see it, because all I've heard is Jordan Battle can do it all. Well, can he do it all great? I mean, hell, I could do it all, but I can't do anything great. I want to see this guy come into his own and be a great Cincinnati Bengal. I want to see him be a reliable starter. Jordan Battle, Geno Stone. Tyson Anderson, an ex-Toledo Rocket, is back there as the 3rd safety. But I look at this secondary carefully because Al Golden, the defensive coordinator, he likes to use these guys as interchangeable pieces. Free safety, play strong safety. Can you play nickel? Can you play left side, right side? Can you do different things? And can you be productive? But this group right here will be tested throughout the season And maybe they lose their confidence a little bit in practice because they got to cover T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and go up against Joe Burrow every day. How would that be? Can you imagine waking up every day going up against that crowd? Anyways, that's how I see the Bengals defense. Okay, Cincinnati does a great job. They have just enough play action pass where Burrow will fake the ball to Chase Brown to try to control the underneath coverage. You'll even see their center, Karras, pull and block the defensive end, and they'll double these defensive tackles. The guard has to snatch that one technique, and they stay big on the end, but they take their third receiver and they run him on a special seam. He has some adjustments against man-to-man, but he is definitely the primary read. Then they have somebody else in the 2 spot run a seam right down the numbers at warp speed. And they put the great Jamar Chase out here. He sees a lot of coverage that rotates to him because of how good he is. You'll see Jamar Chase run this inside breaking route at 16 to 18. We called it a dagger, depending on how clean he gets off. The tight end, he'll stab that defensive end and he'll hook right over the balls and outlet. The faking back will be in the flat. But if Joe Burrow has time to get the ball right in here to Chase, that's one good thing for Cincinnati. But what's really exciting is watching this guy after he catches the ball because he runs like freaking nobody I have ever seen. He is unbelievable after the catch. Okay, let's get into the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are the defending AFC North champions and back-to-back defending champions. They have 11 Pro Bowl players. You should win games when you got a team like that. But head coach John Harbaugh has done a great job building this team, rebuilding this team, reloading, and winning consistently. This is the #1 total offense in the NFL. The Ravens broke numerous records last year. We'll get into that in a minute. And their defense under first-year Zach Orr last year struggled early in the season, but in the last 7 games, the Ravens were one of the top defenses in pro football. They started 0-2 last year. A lot of people forget that. Everybody's thinking the Ravens are going to be a bad team. The Ravens are mentally tough. They turned it around to win the North. Remember this now, in Week 15, the Baltimore Ravens were 2 games behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. And guess what? They ran the table. They outscored their opponents 135-43. Not only did they catch Pittsburgh and win the North, they knocked Pittsburgh out in the playoffs. It was an impressive win. This is a very good football team. They are well known as a team over the last few years that have done it in the regular season. But they got to push it all the way to the top in the playoffs. That's the only thing missing, I think, from this Raven football team. Last year, they gave the ball away only 11 times. That's excellent. They only took it away 17 times, which is very low and uncommon for this Raven defense. But they were +6 in a turnover ratio. That was a pretty good margin. They were in the middle of the pack of the league. But take a look at the statistics offensively and defensively last year. #1 in total offense, #10 in total defense. They were first running the football with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and they were first stopping the run. And running the ball and stopping the run, those are 2 key statistics in winning football. They were the 3rd scoring team in football, averaging over 25 points a game, and they were a top 10 defense in yielding points. That's outstanding. The one issue with this team that was troublesome, most troublesome, was the penalties. 132 penalties against the Baltimore Ravens. Do you hate it when a ref throws a flag? God, I hate that. You work all week to pick up a blitz, you get the 14-yard gain, holding, false start, drives me freaking nuts. Pass interference. Anyways, 31st in the league with over 1,100 yards in penalties. That's nauseous. That'll make you sick. They got to address that. The Ravens really don't have any glaring weaknesses, except their pass defense, which must improve. They were 31st in the league last year in yards allowed. And I think being in the second year of Coach Zach Orr's system will help. They've also made some key additions. They've got 5 first-round draft choices in the secondary. I think the Ravens are going to fix that. They averaged on offense, I want to go back, 425 yards a game. Balanced attack. It was fun to watch. Let's take a look at who's going. Who left the Raven football team from last year? Backup quarterback Josh Johnson is out. Wide receiver Nelson Aguilar, no longer in Baltimore. Their offensive tackle, their backup swing tackle, the guy that can play left tackle and right tackle, Josh Jones left town. They lost their starting left guard to Jacksonville. Patrick McCarry left. That's a hole that the Ravens have to fill. Nose tackle Michael Pierce retired. Perhaps the biggest human being I have ever seen in person. This guy's a freaking monster. He left. They lost two linebackers that really filled in late in the season and played well. Malik Harrison left and Chris Board left. I think that's the position we got to keep an eye on in Baltimore. Who's going to play next to Roquan Smith? They lost Brandon Stevens. Even though he gave up a lot of yardage last year, he was a quality corner. He signed with the Jets. Tre'Davious White, another corner with experience, left. Safety man Marcus Williams had been a very good player, struggled last year. He left. And the all-time scorer in Baltimore Raven history, 14 years with Justin Tucker. This guy could put you away, man. This guy is no longer with the Ravens. We got to keep an eye on that. Their general manager is Eric DeCosta, and what a job he has done. With all this talent, 11 Pro Bowlers, he managed to re-sign Wallace, a good young receiver. He re-signed Ronnie Stanley to play left tackle. He re-signed Patrick Ricard, one of my favorite Gruden grinders, fullback, tight end, swing guy. This guy's a hell of a player. And he redid Derrick Henry's contract. No one really knows about that. And he re-signed Rashad Bateman, an outstanding young receiver who's coming off a big year. And they also went out and added DeAndre Hopkins. He's got like 12,000 yards receiving, man. And they added Jair Alexander from the Packers, a former Pro Bowl cornerback. So give Eric DeCosta his props, man. He's done a hell of a job. The only thing to keep an eye on with the Ravens is their first 6 weeks. Whew, they got a tough schedule, man. It's like a gauntlet, you know what I mean? Even though they play the 3-14 Browns in week 2, the combined record of these teams they play in first 6 games is 66-36. I mean, they open up at Buffalo 13-4. They play the Lions and the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks. Those two teams were both 15-2. Damn, that's a tough schedule. Then they got to play the Texans and the Rams, 2 playoff teams, both 10-7, and then they get a bye. So if they can come through these first 6 games feeling pretty good about themselves, they might kick a lot of ass with the rest of their schedule. I believe that. Again, I want to point out, Justin Tucker, Hall of Fame kicker. This guy's phenomenal. The all-time most accurate kicker in NFL history is this guy. They got to replace him. And they drafted Tyler Loop, a young kid out of Arizona, in the 6th round. He'll get that responsibility. Fortunately for Baltimore, they have this guy's name, Randy Brown. He's the kicking coach. This guy does the best job in football, coaching and finding kickers. Randy Brown loves Tyler Loop. That replacement has to be proved. He's got to prove he can replace Justin Tucker. Let's take a look at some of the other guys that the Ravens added. Cooper Rush, the ex-Dallas Cowboy quarterback, will replace Josh Johnson. We already talked about DeAndre Hopkins. They brought in Joseph Noteboom, offensive tackle from the Rams. He can be a swing tackle to replace Josh Jones. John Jenkins, veteran nose tackle, massive former Raider. He'll probably come in and replace Michael Pierce. Jake Hummel, former LA Ram, has come in to play linebacker. They have some voids there. And we talked about Jair Alexander and Awuzie, a corner who's a veteran player to add depth. But the Ravens had a nice draft as well. This Eric DeCosta guy, he needs some stickers for his helmet, man. He did all this stuff we talked about, and he gets Malachi Starks, a great young safety out of Georgia, and then he gets Mike Green, the leading sacker in college football out of Marshall, 17 sacks to supplement their rush. Emory Jones, another big offensive tackle from LSU, and keep an eye on Teddy Buchanan, linebacker out of Cal, to help this void of these 2 linebackers that left town. But another quality draft, some good free agent signings. Heck of a football team. Let's get into the Ravens offense. Okay, let's get into the Baltimore Raven offense, and what an offense it is. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken. The guy's done a great job, and they have some enviable weapons. I mean, you're on the other sideline, and here comes Lamar Jackson. You're like, holy cow. Derrick Henry. Oh, man. Zay Flowers. DeAndre Hopkins. Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely. Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. The center's a Pro Bowler. The guy has a lot of great players. But Todd Monken's done a great job distributing the ball to all of them. I mean, there's a lot of touches for Henry. They spread it around with Flowers and these tight ends, and Lamar Jackson makes it all go. Incredible balance. They're fast starters. They come out of the shoot fast. They jump on you. They get a lead. They're well organized. And they use their tight ends incredibly well. They have 3 or 4 versatile players that can play in line, in the backfield, in the slot, or out wide. And you really never know what personnel grouping you need to prepare for. They can play 12, 21, 22, 13, or 11. What the hell does that mean, Gruden? It's the personnel groupings. For all you personnel fans, the first digit is how many running backs are in the game. The second digit is how many tight ends are in the game. And then it's got to add up to 5. So for instance, 12, 1 back, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. It's got to add up to 5, and that tells you how many receivers are in there. You got it, Jake? So 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends. Clay, how many receivers?
1, 2.
Jesus criminy, never mind. The ball distribution's great. And I want to say this. Look at these statistics. Give credit where credit is due. Number 1 in the league, 425 yards per game. That's the first time in 29 years of history with this franchise they've led the league in offense. 6.8 yards per play, number 1. 5.8 yards per rush, number 1. 8.8 yards per pass, number 1. Is this impressive you, Jake?
Yeah.
Hell, it's the first time in NFL history a team had a 4,000-yard passer and 3,000 yards of rushing. That's great balance. It's the only team in NFL history to have a guy throw for over 40 touchdown passes and have 20-plus rushing touchdowns as a team. That's insane. 6.8 yards per play is number 2 all time. Number 1 in the NFL in red zone, touchdown percentage, 74%, and 3rd in the league on 3rd down at 48%. So this is a high-octane group of badasses that are well-trained, and they've had great continuity. And I think they're really pissed off about losing to Buffalo. I think this team really has something to prove, and I was there in Baltimore for a few days. Look what Coach Harbaugh gave me, my Raven sweatshirt. You see that? They even personalized JG on there. I feel like a Raven. God, I wish I was a Raven. Anyways, Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. He's only 28 years old. He's had great seasons before, but 2024 was his best. I mean, 4,700 yards passing, 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's impossible, man. That is insane. He's the first quarterback to throw for over 40 TDs and 5 or less picks. This guy protects the ball. He's winning in the pocket, and when he needs to run, he'll kick your ass. 915 yards rushing. That led all quarterbacks in the NFL. First quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 4,000 and run for over 900. That's what you got to deal with when you talk about Lamar Jackson. A dynamic dual threat. He'll execute the plays that you call, and if the play you call ain't very good, he'll make his own play and make it work. This guy is freaking awesome. I like the fact he is winning from the pocket. He's not dropping back and scrambling. He only scrambles 9% of the time. But when he does scramble, he gets 27 first downs and over 400 yards rushing. So you got to really be careful with Jackson in the pocket. He'll kick your ass throwing it, and he'll kill you, break your heart running. The guy's really something. They also have a ton of designed runs. 79 times by design, they use Lamar Jackson to run the ball for over 450 yards. So they have a great offensive scheme, 120 QB rating, which is 4th in the history of the league. And if he wins another MVP, that'll be 3. That's what Brett Favre did, Tom Brady did, that's what Jim Brown did. The only guy to do it 4 times was A-Rod, and the only guy to do it 5 times was the sheriff, Peyton Manning. The backup quarterback will be Cooper Rush. He went 9-5 in Dallas. Maybe they should have started him. The guy played pretty damn good. Obviously, if Rush comes in the game, the system will change. But that's the beauty of the Ravens offense. They can morph into a system to suit Cooper Rush if need be. The running back is obviously Derrick Henry, the beast. You know, last year he got let go by the Titans. He's 30 years old, all the naysayers were saying. He's old. He's 30. Bullshit. This guy goes to Baltimore and 1,921 yards. He's the first running back in NFL history to have 1,900 or more with multiple teams. He tied for the league lead with 16 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 5.9 yards a carry. He's too old. No, you're just out of your mind. This guy's unbelievable. He's the 19th all-time leading rusher, 1,316 more yards, and Derrick Henry will crack the top 10 of all time. This guy is unbelievable. And when you really study him, you got to ask yourself, how did he make the 1,900 yards? 1,361 yards were made after contact. That means guys have a hard time bringing the beast on the ground. He led the NFL in making people miss. 100 times he made tacklers miss. So he's elusive enough to make you miss. And he's big enough to knock you out, man. This guy is a freaking great back. 675 yards he made after making somebody miss. He still has it. I was in Baltimore. I stood right next to him when he was in the I formation. I go, good God, I wish I could have coached this guy. This guy is really something. And when Lamar goes this way and Derrick goes that way, how do you defend that? There's a lot of great stuff in this Ravens system. Justice Hill is an excellent third down back. He can run all kind of routes. He can pick up blitzes. And if you need him to carry it, he can carry it. I asked fantasy football people to look into Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell. 2 years ago in 2023, comes out of nowhere, undrafted guy. He averages 8.5 yards a carry over a 6-week period. I'm not kidding you. This guy was unbelievable. But he got hurt. He hurt his knee. Last year, just 14 carries for 30 yards. But my sources say he's healthy now. And he's playing in the preseason. Keep an eye on this man, Keaton Mitchell. He could be an outstanding complement to the beast. And at wide receiver, Zay Flowers. He's the first Raven to make the Pro Bowl. Nobody in Raven history caught 100 passes faster than Zay Flowers. The man caught 100 passes in just 21 games. Remember, Flowers missed the 2 playoff games last year. That cost Baltimore. This guy's a hell of a player. Pro Bowl player, over 1,000 yards, and he can run all kind of routes. The one thing that impressed me when I was watching the Ravens is this guy can run full speed and stop on a dime, man. He can change directions like a freaking cat. He is really explosive and quick, and he is a polished route runner. Rashad Bateman just got a new contract. He had a career year last year. He was healthy. He's a touchdown machine. He had 9 touchdowns, 756 yards. He's a big play guy that can run. So that gives them 2 really quality receivers. They also added DeAndre freaking Hopkins, man. I know he's 33 years old. Hell, I coached Tim Brown and Jerry Rice. They were older than that, and they could still rip your face off, man. DeAndre Hopkins, 33 years old, almost 13,000 yards receiving. He's got over 950 career catches. He doesn't need to be the number 1 option. But if they want to use a 3-receiver set, you want to crowd the box and stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running the ball, who are you going to cover? Who are you going to call? Remember that movie, Ghostbusters? Who are you going to call? Hell if I know. You got to defend these guys, man. That's a great pickup by the Ravens. And I love Wallace, number 16. He does a lot of dirty work. He's an excellent special teams player. He can block, and don't kid yourself. This man can make plays catching it. They also got Anthony Miller, Devontae Walker, Keith Kirkwood. They got a lot of guys. The Ravens are going to have to let go some pretty good players that are going to make other teams' rosters. But the position group that makes the Ravens go is the tight end position. They play 2 at a time a lot. They'll play 12 personnel, 1 back and 2 tight ends, and they'll do that 31% of the time. Matter of fact, when the Ravens are in this personnel grouping, 12. That's 1 back, 2 tight ends. How many receivers, Clay?
2.
That's outstanding, Clay. You're a quick learner. I didn't know you could do that. They love this personnel group, and they average 7.1 yards a play when these guys are on the field. Make a note of Mark Andrews. He had 11 touchdown catches last year. He missed some time. This is a red zone touchdown machine, 29 years old. He had 55 catches for 673 yards. And I know all you people, he dropped that ball. Ah, hell, we're moving on. It's this year. It's the only year that matters. This is a badass. He's in the last year of his contract. You better watch out for Andrews because he's healthy. Isaiah Likely, here's a guy that's got a huge future. He's hurt right now. He fractured a foot in July. Will he be ready for that opening game against Buffalo? You better look into that right now. But Likely, 42 for 477. Here's a guy that can line up in the slot. He can line up as a receiver. He can come out of the chute, man. This guy can really run routes. He's an emerging player at this position. Charlie Kolar, keep an eye on this beast. He comes in there, plays the true tight end in some blocking hard ball run situations. I mean, if you watch some of the trade blocks where he's combination blocking with the tackle, God, I mean, they're clinics, man. The guy can really block, Kolar. But here's my favorite Raven of all. You could say Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Roquan Smith. There's 11 Pro Bowlers. Ask me who my favorite Raven is, Jake.
Who is it?
Patrick Ricard. I love this guy. He's the number 1 Gruden grinder. I call him the straw man because he stirs everything. He makes every drink work. The guy plays fullback. He'll be in the I formation right in front of Derrick Henry at 290 pounds. Then he'll be playing on the line of scrimmage, blocking Myles Garrett. Then he's playing as a freaking H-back going in motion. This guy is a great freaking player. They should put his name in the rafters right next to Marshall freaking Yonda. Badass. I don't know what he is. I don't know how he does all this stuff. Great player. And again, it's all going to come down to how we play up front. The Ravens lost 1 starter. They lost their left guard, Patrick McCarry, to Jacksonville. Look hard at the left guard position. Andrew Voorhees, former 7th round pick, 3 starts he made last year. Looks like the guy. Should I say incumbent? Is that a word you can use? 3 syllables? That's like a Virginia Cavalier, right, Jake? The incumbent is Andrew Voorhees. But Ben Cleveland, he's looking for a job. He's competing for that left guard spot. They got a great line coach in George Warhop. And they re-signed Ronnie Stanley to be the left tackle. Stanley was healthy last year, and they gave him a big contract to reward him. But he has had 36 games missed in the last 5 previous seasons. He's had some injuries. But I look for Stanley, very athletic to be the left tackle. Voorhees at left guard. Tyler Lindenbaum, hell of a player, their center. Man, another Pro Bowler. He can snatch a shade. He can get up on the second level. He's a beast. And my guy over here at right guard is Mammoth. Al Davis, the old Raider, GM, the president, the owner. He would have loved Daniel Fa'alele. Say it.
Fa'alele.
Fa'alele. He's about 6'8", about 380. And then his feet, I watched him walk by. His feet could have stepped on my head. I mean, this guy's a monster. And Roger Rosengarten played really good as a rookie last year. He's going to be the right tackle. Keep an eye on Joel Noteboom. He came over from the Rams where he started 35 games. He could add depth for the swing tackle. He could play right or left. I like that pickup. And they also drafted Emory Jones in the 3rd round out of LSU. Excellent offensive team with an unlimited potential. Love this thing. Okay, the Baltimore Raven defense, arguably the most exciting unit, I think, to watch this fall. They're the number 1 rushing defense. They really struggled last year, statistically finishing 31st against the pass. But I really like their young second-year defensive coordinator, Zach Orr. I got a chance to spend some time with him in the offseason. He is impressive. And they got a hell of a staff surrounding him. Last year, they had a rough start. I mean, if you look at the first several games versus the last several games, they were giving up 25 points a game in their first 10 games. They were giving up 358 yards, 5.7 yards a play, and 250 yards passing a game. I mean, that's 25th, 27th, 27th, 32nd. That's where they ranked in those categories. But over the last 7 games, they gave up 15.4 points per game. They gave up 261 yards a game, and they gave up 4.4 yards per play and only 172 yards passing a game. They were number 1 in all 4 of those categories. That sounds like the Ravens. That was the Ravens. It's the second year in Zach Orr's defense. Usually in the second year, you see a lot of improvement because the guys understand the scheme, they anticipate the adjustments, and there's better communication. Again, this is the number 1 rushing defense in football. I don't know how they do it every year, but they stop the run. Only 80 yards a game and 3.6 yards per carry. That's one of the reasons why they give up more yards passing, because everybody throws it because they can't run it. You know what I'm saying? I used to say that to myself. Why are we running plays against the Ravens? Throw it. And we did. That's what you have to do, I think, to win. Defense has been the identity of the Ravens. You think about Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. You think about all the great players they've had, Starks. You think about all these different Ravens. God, Suggs. It goes on and on. They kick your ass for years. Still a defensive team, but the offense is overshadowing the defense for the reasons we just talked about. The one thing the Ravens aren't doing, at least in the last year, is they're not making those impact turnover plays. They only acquired 17 turnovers last year. That is un-Raven-like. 2 years ago, they had 31 where they tied for the league. They got to start making more impact plays when it comes to turnovers. But again, it's this 31st ranked pass defense you got to look at. Jamar Chase of the Bengals destroyed them in both games. And really what it was the big plays, blown coverages, poor angles, and the underneath coverage wasn't very good at times either. They got to make big corrections in the passing game. This is a positionless defense, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You really don't know what position some of these guys play. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, he's playing nickel. He's playing free safety. Holy shit, he's a dime linebacker. Where is he? They got a lot of guys with great versatility. They can play base, they can play nickel, they can play dime. They got a lot of versatile badasses on defense, and Zach Orr is going to be better using them in year 2. When you look at the front 4, the defensive line, Coach Johnson is the D-line coach. He's a hell of a coach. Keep an eye on him. It all starts with their inside people. They're led by Nnamdi Madubuike. This guy here got a big contract after his 2023 season. He had 13 sacks. He had 65 pressures, and they paid him a ton. And he's worth it. He's the ringleader. But last year, he slipped statistically just 6.5 sacks and 45 pressures. That's because he had a glorious 2023 season, and us offensive coaches said, let's slide the line to 92. Let's take 92 away. So somebody else needs to step up. And I think the guy that's really emerging in Baltimore is Travis Jones. I don't like him. I love him. He's a beast, man. He's out of Connecticut. He wears number 98. He only had 1 sack last year, but if you wonder why the Ravens stopped the run, that's the big reason why. I think when the center goes over here to help against number 92, I think Travis Jones is going to get some one-on-ones, and I think he's potentially able to really jack up his pass rush. He could be a real star this year if he does that. Broderick Washington is another defensive end, solid player. They brought in John Jenkins, a mammoth run-stopping nose tackle to replace Michael Pierce. And I think the 6th-round draft choice, Aeneas Peebles out of Virginia Tech, could make the team as a late-round pick. I know Malisak loves Virginia Tech, don't you, Jake? No, you don't. They also re-signed Brent Urban. So they have some depth. They have some really good stuff inside. But remember, the Ravens, they get more sacks than just about anybody. Matter of fact, in the last 4 years, Baltimore has more sacks than everybody. And they are one of 4 teams to have 2 men that have 10 or more sacks. They're led by Kyle Van Noy. Can you believe Kyle Van Noy had 12 and a half sacks last year? He does it by an arsenal of moves. He knows how to beat a young tackle. He really has a great spin move. I mean, he recognizes how to stunt. He can slither through people. This guy's a quality veteran player. 4th in the NFL with 12 and a half sacks. But my favorite Raven on defense is Odafe Oweh. Odafe Oweh. I love this guy out of Penn State. It's not the mistake I made. I should have drafted him. But I screwed that up. I'll admit it. But I stand next to him. This guy can get off, man. He's slippery. He had a big year last year with 10 sacks. Keep an eye on Oweh and Van Noy. They're both playing out the last year of their contract. Keep an eye on that. They also have this guy, Tavius Robinson. Not a lot of people know who he is. Number 95. Came out of Mississippi. All I know is when he comes in the game, I go, holy shit, who is that guy? It's Tavius Robinson. He's a good player. You better be careful of him. They drafted Mike Green, 2nd round pick. He was at Virginia Tech. He had some issues. He went to Marshall. He had 17 sacks. He led the country. He got one against Ohio State. I can still see it in my mind. And Chuck Smith, their pass rush coach, likes his get off. He likes the fact that he has no wasted motion, no false steps. But he's got a chance to be in the mix with Tavius Robinson. Hell, they even got David Ajabo, a pretty good pass rusher, trying to make the team. They got depth, they got skill, and they got a really good coach. The inside linebacker, Roquan Smith, he's the guy that you really respect after turning the film off. Another Pro Bowl season. That's 2 years in a row. He's been first team All-Pro. 4 PBUs. He had 1 pick, 1.5 sack, and 1 forced fumble. And you're a guy, See, I think Roquan Smith can double every one of those. I think we need to see a little bit more splash, even more impact from Roquan Smith this year because he's capable of doing it. But I'm an owl. Who is the other freaking linebacker? I don't know. They lost Chris Board. They lost Malik Harrison. And they're going back to Trenton Simpson, the guy they drafted out of Clemson. But they benched him last year, and I think they benched him twice. They need this guy, Simpson, to come back with great confidence, improve against the pass, and play his ass off. They need this guy to play well. They also brought in Jake Hummel, a veteran linebacker from the Rams, and they drafted Teddy Buchanan in the 4th round from California. So they have some competition, but they definitely need to pick up the play of the linebacker opposite Roquan Smith. And then let's get into the secondary. This is what I'm most excited to see. 31st against the pass. Keep saying that. 31st against the pass. 31st against the pass. You know why you keep saying it? Because you piss these guys off. They're like, God, don't say that, Gruden. These guys are going to respond, I'm telling you. It all starts with their secondary coach, Donald Delicio. They brought him in there, and they brought back Chuck Pagano, former head coach of the Colts. Well, Pagano was the secondary coach of the Ravens when they had McAllister and Starks and Ed Reed. You want to play like a Raven? Get a Raven coach, Chuck Pagano. He's going to get these guys technique, their communication, their eyes, and their entry. Everything's going to be better between these new coaches. And they got 5 number 1 picks in the secondary. It better be better. You got it? It better be better. Marlon Humphrey is one of the great Ravens of all time. Number 44. As a nickel corner, he is a complete badass. I mean, this guy, after the 2023 season, everybody said, Humphrey, he's getting old. So they draft a guy in the 1st round. They get another guy in the 4th round. Humphrey's old. Humphrey can't do it. He had a Pro Bowl year, 6 interceptions, led to AFC. The guy had 6 tackles for loss. The guy's a bitch, man. He's a vicious guy. I love him. He can play outside. He can play inside. The man can play. Now, who are the outside corners when Humphrey goes into the slot? Well, keep an eye on Nate Wiggins. He's a 2nd-year player, number 1 pick out of Clemson. All you got to do is watch the target reel. What I mean is, every time the ball is thrown at Wiggins, is it complete? Hell, 47% completions when you deal with this guy. This guy's an emerging player in the NFL Wiggins can be a Pro Bowler just like Humphrey. And guess who they signed, Jake? Jair Alexander, former All-Pro corner with the Green Bay Packers. Now, I know he's missed 34 out of the last 68 games. But when you bring a player like this in on a one-year, $4 million contract, and you put him in a room with these guys, it could really get exciting, man, because these are two quality corners with Humphrey inside. And I'm not even excited yet because I haven't talked about their safeties. One of my top 10 favorite players in football is Kyle Hamilton. This guy does it all. He plays big nickel. He plays dime linebacker, free safety, strong safety. The guy has 107 tackles, man, second on the team. He's got 2 sacks. I saw him against Cincinnati blow up a running back. He is a hell of a player. And when you put in Malachi Starks, their first-round pick, did we like Malachi Starks, Jake, when he sat in here? We loved him. So did Eric DeCosta. Leadership, work ethic, passion, intelligence, versatility, and playmaking is Malachi Starks. 3 years at Georgia, national champion, 200 tackles. The guy has 6 interceptions. He plays in the box. He plays free safety. He plays everywhere. He's just like Kyle Hamilton. This secondary should be better. They did lose a Darius Washington. He is a good safety, man. He really solidified the Ravens last year. So Starks has got to play from the jump, if you ask me. That was a big loss. They also added Chidobe Awuzie, a good quality corner who's played for the Bengals and the Cowboys. They have depth, they have talent, they have the scheme, I think, in Zach Orr's system to really pick it up. I love the Ravens to win the North again. I love my sweatshirt too. It's personalized. One of the things Baltimore does in a running game is get into 22 personnel. That's 2 backs, 2 tight ends. How many receivers, Clay?
1.
Just 1. They get into that personnel group, and they put 2 tight ends over here with Patrick Ricard, a 290-pound fullback, and Derrick Henry as the I-back. And you watch the Washington Commanders. They're like, we better put a lot of guys over here because these 2 tight ends, this fullback, they could run the ball off the edge. Well, once they do that, Lamar Jackson looks over here on this side and says, let's run over there. And one of the plays Baltimore runs, and they're the only team I've seen run this, is this crack scheme where they'll use their young receiver oftentimes like Wallace to come in here, tighten his split, and crack the defensive end. Boy, that pisses them off. And they use their Pro Bowl left tackle. He's so athletic. He goes in, up, and he captures this linebacker, and Stanley will run that guy all the way off the field. I mean, Ronnie Stanley's incredibly athletic on the second level. But Stanley blocks the linebacker, Wallace cracks the defensive end, and Ricard comes flying out of here, and he kicks that corner out. But what's really impressive is how their Pro Bowl center, Linderbaum, I don't know how he does it. He loses depth, he gains ground, and somehow he reaches that shaded defensive tackle, and that allows the left guard to get off and get this linebacker who's running over the top. And then they just come in a convoy on the backside to cut off, and Derrick Henry catches this toss sweep. Good God, if you're the free safety and you're one-on-one with the king, what would you do? Hey, before we get to our next team, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Sport Clips. Hey, I go to Sport Clips. I got the MVP treatment. You ought to try the hot towel, man. It might be the greatest thing I've ever had happen. They give you a shave, great haircut, relaxing. Try it. It's the whole 9 yards. When you step into Sport Clips, you're stepping into a zone for guys. The games are on and the stylists just get it. Sport Clips, it's a game changer. Now back to the previews. The Cleveland Browns, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski, coming off a tough year. Tough couple years. 3-14 last year. And really, since the rebirth of the Cleveland Browns, to put this in perspective, since 1999 when they came back to Cleveland, it's been tough sledding. They have the worst record in the NFL, .337 winning percentage. They've only played in 4 playoff games since 1999. And when Bailey Zappi started at quarterback last year, that's the 40th different starting quarterback they've had since 1999. And that is not good. When you hear that song that Ian Turner wrote, Cleveland Rocks, I'm just waiting to see the rocks, man. Come on, it ain't rocking very good. I don't know what to say, but that song, Jiminy Christmas, 40 different starting quarterbacks. They lead the NFL since 1999 in interceptions. They lead the NFL in turnovers. They have the lowest quarterback completion percentage, and they have the lowest quarterback passer rating in football. And that is not rocking. You know what I mean, Ian Turner? That is getting rocked. They have the worst trade in the history of the NFL on the books. We're all guilty of making bad trades, but this Deshaun Watson trade just did not work out, man. They are paying dearly financially for a quarterback that did not play and did not play well. So they got to retool this whole organization. And Kevin Stefanski's been the coach of the year in this NFL. He's the guy that can get it done. But they got to make changes. Starting with the offensive line, they brought in a new line coach, Mike Bloomgren. Formerly the head coach at Rice, was a very good offensive line coach for Andrew Luck in his Stanford days under David Shaw. They have a new offensive coordinator. Ken Dorsey was relieved of his duties, and Tommy Reese, the pass game coordinator, takes over, but I think Stefanski himself will call the plays. I think they're going to go to a more run-balanced offense than what they've been doing. They cannot feature these young quarterbacks. They got to play safe, I think, get the running game going. Stefanski's in his 6th year. That's the longest tenured Cleveland Brown head coach since Sam Ritigliano and the Cardiac Kids. I love that team. Back in the 1980s. Andrew Berry, he's in his 6th year as the GM. Matter of fact, the Browns have had 6 different GMs since 2012, so it's nice to have some stability. But look at the numbers last year. Cleveland's offense ranked 32nd in scoring. There's only 32 teams, 28th in total offense, 29th in rushing, 22nd in pass. And their defense really struggled last year as well. 27th in scoring defense, 21st against the run, 19th total defense. It was a tough year. But where the Browns were really bad last year is this turnover ratio. Good God. 34 giveaways and only 12 takeaways, minus 22, man. That's not good, Jake. That's like your hockey team I was the coach of. We turned the puck over repeatedly, and that's why they're in last in the turnover margin. This is the 31st ranked team in point differential. They lost by an average of 10.4 points per game. That's not good. And the Cleveland Browns are going to have a lot of new faces this year at key positions. They're going to have new quarterback? How about 4 new quarterbacks? That's unprecedented, man. They're going to have a new feature back. Hopefully they have new and improved results. But the Cleveland Browns are still paying dearly for this Deshaun Watson trade. Whether you think it's, pounding a dead horse or not, good Lord. They have $19 million of cap space left this year, but they got to re-sign Njoku, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Ethan Posick, Jack Conklin. Hell, the whole offensive line is on the last year of their deal. Martin Emerson and Craig Newsome, 2 starting corners. They have a lot of work to do with this franchise because the fallout of the financial moves with this Deshaun Watson trade have really hamstrung the Browns. Take a look at the roster changes. Who is leaving the Cleveland Browns? Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 2 quarterbacks, gone. Nick Chubb, great Cleveland Brown, is in Houston. He's gone. Donta Freeman, backup running back, gone. Elijah Moore, wide receiver, gone. Jordan Atkins, gone. Tight end. Jeff Swain, gone. Defensive end, James Houston. Defensive tackle, Dalvin Tomlinson. Defensive tackle, Maurice Hurst. Offensive tackles, Jedrick Willis and Jermaine Ifedi, gone. That's a lot of guys that are gone. Not to mention their linebacker, Jordan Hicks, safety man, Rodney McLeod, and starting safety, Juan Thornhill. I mean, that's a lot of guys that are gone. So hopefully they brought in some guys, right? Well, in free agency, they did. They brought in 2 new quarterbacks, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Flacco's 40, Pickett's on his 3rd team in 3 years. Hopefully he's a reclamation project like Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. At least that's what they're hoping. Deontay Johnson, the former Steeler, he's in Cleveland now. He's been on about 5 teams in the last 2 years. Hopefully he makes a contribution. DeAndre Carter comes over to be the punt returner, probably the 4th or 5th receiver. Cornelius Lucas is an offensive tackle, as is Jackson Barton. They brought in offensive guard Tevin Jenkins from the Bears. Defensive tackle Malik Collins came over from the 49ers. Joe Tryon Shoyinka, former first-round pick of the Bucs, came to the Browns to rush the passer, as did Julian Okwara. He came over. Linebackers, Jerome Baker, the ex-Miami Dolphin, and safety Rayshon Jenkins from the Seahawks come over, as does Damontae Kazee. He comes over to play safety as well. Look at all these guys coming, and look at all these guys going. It's like a freaking revolving door, man. You know that? Even at Christmas. And then the draft. This is the most significant piece of information you will hear. The Browns took Mason Graham, a very good defensive tackle from Michigan, with the 5th pick. But by trading down with Jacksonville, they got the Jaguars' #1 pick. So there's a great chance Cleveland is rooting against Jacksonville every week. And if Jacksonville has a bad year, the Browns could have 2 very high picks next year. Keep an eye on Arch Manning at Texas. I would. Anyways, that's significant. They took Carson Schwarzenegger, good linebacker, although a one-hit wonder at UCLA in the 2nd round. Quinshawn Judkins, hell of a back out of Ohio State and Ole Miss. He's had some off-the-field issues. I believe they're being resolved, but Judkins should be the feature back for the Browns. Hopefully, everything works out. Harold Fannin, 3rd-round pick out of Bowling Green, is going to be a tight end. Shit, he had 117 catches for 1,500 yards. And then they took another quarterback, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, to go with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. And then in the 5th round, they took another quarterback. They took guys. Hey, I wish I was coaching this team. I would take quarterbacks with every pick. And I would stay out and practice all day and night with my quarterbacks. They took Shedeur Sanders. So God knows what's going to happen short-term, long-term in Cleveland. And what if the Browns have the #1 pick next year? And Archie Manning's sitting there. Guess what? You're going to have to make another change. But anyways, Dylan Sampson, another damn good running back from Tennessee. He came over. He led the SEC in rushing, and he had 22 touchdowns. So 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a couple pretty good defensive players are coming to Cleveland. Let's get into the Browns offense and see what's happening. Okay, let's get into the Cleveland Browns offense. And I don't want to be too negative here. I try to be positive. It's the preseason. Everybody's undefeated. But last year, there were some negatives with this Browns offense that must be resolved. The good news is they have Kevin Stefanski. He'll call the plays. I think he's going to return to being a full-time play caller. Remember last year in week 8, I think he passed it off to Ken Dorsey. Then at the end of the year, I think Coach Stefanski realized, I got to take this play calling back. So he's going to call the plays and reshape the offense. You know, when you get a new quarterback like Deshaun Watson, the first thing you do is reshape your playbook to do the things that Watson does well. I mean, hell, we gave him all this money and all these picks. So they've been reshaping the offense to fit Deshaun Watson. Well, Watson's gone. So now they got to reshape the offense again. And I think Coach Stefanski is going to go back to his roots. And that root is running the ball. In the first 4 years of the Stefanski era in Cleveland, they were 3rd in rushing attempts, 4th in rushing attempts, 6th and 12th. And they ran the ball down your throat, man, with Nick Chubb and company. And they have a strong offensive line, especially inside. So I think he's going to get back to running the rock. Last year, the Browns ran the ball less than anybody, 35% of the time. A lot of it was because they were behind. You know, we already talked about the 10-point differential. What are you going to do, run the ball when you're down by 10 with 6 minutes left? Probably not. Anyways, the Browns' running game was 29th last year. It all centers around Judkins, Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford. These 3 running backs got to run the rock to take the pressure off of the quarterback. Now, when you talk about the Browns' offense last year, they only averaged 15.2 points per game. That's not good. They only scored 18 points or more in a game 3 times. That means the Dog Pound fan club down there, they're like, they can't even bark, man. There's nothing to say. They got to get this freaking thing going, man. 31st in yards per play. I mean, that's not good. And then when you look at bad football, 34 turnovers, man. 66 sacks. The punter punted 89 times, man. The poor guy's probably exhausted. Gee, many Christmas. And they were last in the league on third down. So that's one of the reasons why the defense struggled, because the offense was bad. You ever heard that song by George Thorogood? Bad to the bone, man. Literally. That was bad. So the Deshaun Watson era is over, it looks like to me, in Cleveland. But think about this. There's still a huge commitment to him. His cap number in 2026 is over $80 million. And he's on the books with guaranteed money, I believe, until 2029. Woo! That's something to think about. Now, they have to retool the room, and it starts with the quarterback. But the strange thing is, they didn't bring in a new quarterback. They brought in 4 new quarterbacks. And I don't know where it's going to go, but Joe Flacco at 40 years old, Kenny Pickett on his 3rd team in 3 years, a 3rd-round pick out of Oregon, a 5th-round pick out of Colorado. How do you distribute the reps? I have a feeling it's going to be Flacco. Pickett has had a hamstring throughout training camp. I got a feeling it'll be Flacco. Flacco played quarterback for Kevin Stefanski a couple years ago down the stretch and put the Browns in the playoffs with 5 pretty good starts. And Flacco, if you want to look at it, this guy right here not only has experience in the system, over the last 6 years, he started 29 games. Now, they're only 9-20 in the games Flacco starts. He did have 6 starts last year for the Colts. He threw for 1,700 yards. His experience, calmness, could be what this young offense needs in Cleveland. So look for Flacco to get the start as the season begins. Dillon Gabriel, to me, is really interesting. I mean, the guy started for like 14 years in college. He went to 3 different colleges. He's the only college quarterback in history to throw for 3,000 yards 5 straight years. I mean, this guy has 189 career combined touchdowns, 155 touchdown passes, 34 rushing. This guy's a hell of a football player. He's not the biggest, tallest guy, but he's a hell of a player. He knows how to play the position, and he has flourished in different systems. That says a lot to me. I mean, this guy played good at Oregon, man. He had him 12-0. This guy's good at Central Florida. Hell, he goes to Oklahoma. He looks like Steve Young out there playing. So there's a lot of good shit right here with Gabriel. Now, what do you do with Shedeur Sanders? This is the most talked about 5th-round draft choice in history. And I do like his skill. But doesn't everybody? But why is he in the 5th round? And in the history of the 5th round, I did some research just for you. Since 2000, there's been 20 quarterbacks drafted in the 5th round. I'm talking 5th round. And only 1 quarterback out of 20 has started 18 games. 1. The only quarterback to really light it up was Mark Brunell. He did that for us in Green Bay in 1993. But I think Andrew Berry pretty soon is going to have to show his hand. How many quarterbacks are we going to keep on this roster? 4? I don't think so. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to show us. I cannot wait. But I'm really thinking Flacco will get the ball and run with it. At wide receiver, this is not a powerful, potent group either. They're led by Jerry Jeudy, the ex-Denver Bronco, former #1 pick from Alabama. He's coming off a career year. I mean, he had 90 grabs for 1229 and 4 scores last year. Nobody knows that. Judy's a good receiver, but who are you going to go on the other side with? Who? I don't know. They have this Cedric Tillman, the former Tennessee Volunteer. He looked like a good player. 3 straight weeks towards the middle of the season, Tillman had 81 yards, 99 yards, 75 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's 6'3", 215. He looks the part, but he got hurt and he missed the last 6 games. I think Tillman, if I'm a fantasy football player, which I am now, you see, I'm the head coach of my fantasy team. I'm still there, man, still coaching. I would look at Tillman. I think his numbers are going to be high. I think you could steal him in the draft. The other guy is this Jamari Thrash, former 5th-round pick. I'm just listening to my sources, you know. He only had a few catches last year, but I think this coaching staff likes him. He can play all the positions, X, F, Z. You can move this guy around. He can be productive. They also have this Isaiah Bond. He got in a little trouble, I guess, off the field. good receiver, a lot of talent coming out of Texas. What is Isaiah Bond's status? And then they also have David Bell. But keep an eye on Tillman. This Cedric Tillman could be a real steal for you in the fantasy draft. And at tight end, David Njoku, the ex-Miami Hurricane, a very athletic, very good all-purpose tight end. 2 years ago, he had almost 900 yards, went to the Pro Bowl. But this past season, he had injuries. His numbers dipped. Only averaged 7.9 yards per catch. They got to get Njoku going as a feature option in this passing game. They also drafted this Harold Fanning guy out of Bowling Green. Bowling Green? Yeah, Bowling Green. 117 catches, almost 1,600 yards, and he made a lot of yardage after the catch. Hell, 117 catches, 1,555. That's more than any tight end in the history of college tight ends. Now, the problem is, when I watch the tape, he ain't playing tight end. He's in his slot. He's out there running around. Can he block in the C gap? I mean, when you put that ball down, can he line up right here? I'm not talking the A gap, the B gap. I'm talking about the C gap. Can he block a running play in there? Can he pass protect in that gap? I got to see that, Harold. I can't wait because he can catch the ball. Interesting guy to keep an eye on. Now, the running back position is a position the Cleveland Browns got to take a good look at. This is where Jim Brown played, guys. This is where my man Leroy Kelly played. You got to see the picture I got of Leroy Kelly. I'm going to have Jake show you that picture. I love the Cleveland Browns, man. But Nick Chubb gone. He's gone, and he was one of the favorite Cleveland Browns of all time. So they went out and they drafted Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State. He played his first 2 years at Ole Miss, but this guy has almost 4,000 yards in 3 years and a lot of touchdowns. He's got size, speed, and elusiveness. But he does have an issue off the field. That's for another podcast. I think it's being resolved, and if it is, if this guy's clear to play, he's a hell of a back, man. I like him a lot. They also drafted my guy Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Led the SEC in rushing, 22 touchdowns, also led the league in rushing. Problem is Sampson has only done it for 1 year as a feature back. That's still impressive, but he doesn't have a huge body of work. And can he pick up a blitz? And how can we use Sampson in the passing game? See, I didn't see him catching a lot of passes, kind of like Malasek at hockey practice. I don't see him catching a lot of the pucks the guys are shooting him. He's got a lot to prove, but they also have Jerome Ford. Every year, Jerome Ford is an afterthought in Cleveland. He's an afterthought. Guess what? In 2023, he comes off the bench, catches 44 passes, and has 815 yards. And in this past year, hell, he ends up with 565 yards. Now, his average per carry, 5.4, was enhanced, you know. He had two 60-yard runs late in the season. If you take those two 60-yard runs out, there were some ugly runs in Cleveland last year. But I do like Ford a lot. I think the Browns, if Judkins and Sampson and Ford are healthy, that's exciting, man. I could get really jacked up about that in the dog pound, maybe. And now the offensive line. The strength of the offensive line is the center and the two guards. And I think everybody should celebrate Joel Bitonio, the left guard of the Cleveland Browns. 12 years he's played now. He decided to come back. This man has been to 7 Pro Bowls. 5 times he's been All-Pro. Hell of a player. He started 161 games for Cleveland. That's awesome. And if he starts 7 more games, he's going to break Joe Thomas's record. And he'll be the all-time starter for the Cleveland Browns. Tough, badass offensive guard. Ethan Posick is the center. And Wyatt Teller at right guard over here, he's the puller. I mean, this guy can pull. He can trap. He's an athletic guy. They're good players inside. The right tackle, we hope, is Jack Conklin, the former Tennessee Titan top pick. He's had some injuries. They got to get a good, solid season out of him. And over here at left tackle is DeWand Jones. You won't miss him. He's 6'8", 376 pounds. That's like 3 of you, Clay. I mean, he's a big dude. 6'8", 374. I see him as a right tackle, honestly, but he broke a fibula last year late in the season. but I think he's the projected opening day starter at left tackle. The strength is inside. I think they have some issues on the outside with 2 injured returners. But the Cleveland Browns, Stefanski will call the plays. It's going to be a new opening day starter at quarterback. They're going to have a new feature back, and they're going to have some young guys at the skill positions. Fannin, somebody at wide receiver. Who knows? It can't get any worse. Okay, the Cleveland Browns defense. A lot of people need to remember this. In 2023, this was the #1 ranked defense in the NFL. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz came in here, the former head coach of the Lions, and he had these guys playing lights out football, man. But last year, I really think all the struggles on offense, all the turnovers on offense really inhibited this defense. Remember, the Browns were last in the league on offense in making a first down on third down. They were on the field very little, and this defense had to play a whole lot, man. So the numbers, they went from #1 in total defense to number 19 in total defense. They went from having the #1 pass defense to the number 27 pass defense. That's a big change, isn't it, men? Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys for agreeing on that. The other thing is, surprisingly, they couldn't find the damn ball. They only had 4 interceptions the whole season, and they only took the ball away 12 times. Those numbers are so low, it's incredible in a 17-game season, especially when defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is the guy in charge. And you have the great corner, Denzel Ward, and you got the best pass rusher in Myles Garrett. They got to get some turnovers and impact plays. But the one thing that really bothered me when I watched the Browns on defense, ask me what it was, Clay.
What was it?
The tackling. The tackling was not good, Clay. They had 10 different players miss at least 10 or more tackles. That's a lot of missed tackles, man. That's going to kill you, and it's really going to tick off the coaching staff. So I'm sure changes are going to be made. Problem I see for Cleveland right now is they're already dealing with injuries. I mean, Martin Emerson, a corner who started, hurt his knee in training camp. I believe he's out for the year. And J.O.K., former high pick out of Notre Dame linebacker, he hurt his neck. He's out for the year. So they're already missing 2 players I think that the Browns were counting on. But let's take a look at the defensive line. Everybody's going to start and end with Myles Garrett. And I think what a wonderful story he is. I mean, he's got the league basically under control. He kicks everybody's ass, and he's getting paid. He got the new contract. He deserved it. First player ever to have 14 or more sacks. 4 straight years. That's amazing. 102.5 sacks, and he's only 29 years old. Nobody has done that since 1982. Nobody has gotten 102 sacks before they're 30 like this guy has. He's a hell of a football player, the best get-off in the league. I mean, he keys the ball, and when that ball is snapped, he's gone. A lot of guys don't get off like Myles Garrett. And 539 pressures since 2018. That's an opportunity for somebody else to make a sack or somebody to get an intercepted pass. That's 98 more pressures than anybody else at second. Now, that's saying a lot about this guy's ability and conditioning. But if I'm playing Cleveland, I tell our coaching staff, we are not letting number 95 beat us. Put the tight end over there. If he's over there, motion the tight end over there. Stick the back over there. Somebody else has to beat us. Who's it going to be for Cleveland? Is it Alex Wright or not? I mean, he's been around. He's a big, beautiful specimen from UAB, but we're waiting. Is it going to be Isaiah McGuire? Is it Julian Okwara, the guy they just signed in free agency? Is it Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, the former #1 pick of the Bucs? He didn't hit it off here in Tampa. Can he find the edge in Cleveland? Whoever it is going to get a lot of great looks because all the protection's going to Myles Garrett. Is it Mike Hall, former second-round pick 2 years ago? Somebody has got to take advantage of the table that Myles Garrett sets. Inside, they drafted Mason Graham out of Michigan. Hell of a player. He's got to adjust to the Jim Schwartz scheme. A lot of people hear about these wide nines. What's a wide nine? Ask me, Clay.
What is a wide
A
nine?
wide nine is if you're a defensive end and you're in a nine technique, you line up way outside the tight end. Don't ask me why they call it a nine, but Jim Schwartz has them in real wide nines. Over here, if I said getting a nine, where would you be, Jake?
Wide left.
Wide over here. Wide, that's a wide nine. And they penetrate, they disrupt. That's the whole premise of this defense. And Mason Graham, he really wasn't in that kind of defense at Michigan. So it'll be a scheme change for him he'll have to adjust to. This is a 2-year starter at Michigan. Last year, he's first-team All-America, 7 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Hell of a player. I like him there. Who's the other defensive tackle? Probably Malik Collins, former Cowboy, former Raider, a former 49er. Now he's a Cleveland Brown. He played at Nebraska. I like him. He's going to have to play his ass off. They also have the veteran Shelby Harris, former Bronco. They do have some veteran players to help Mason Graham. And at linebacker, they're in transition. Jordan Hicks, starting linebacker last year, he retired. And then I already said JOK. I just use the initials because that's what they do. It's a long syllable name. They call him JOK, so that's okay with me. He's hurt. He's out for the year. So both of these linebackers are gone for Jim Schwartz. So who's it going to be? Well, they went out and drafted Carson Schweissinger out of UCLA in the second round. One-hit wonder. I think he was a former walk-on. He goes to UCLA, 6'2", 242. And in that 1 year, he led college football with 90 solo tackles. That's no help from anybody else. 136 combined tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. The guy's a hell of a player. Cleveland needs him, and I see him as a Rookie of the Year defensive candidate. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I should say. They also signed Jerome Baker, fast linebacker from the Miami Dolphins, and Devin Bush, former high draft choice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He returns. He has 74 tackles and a sack. So Bush, Schwessinger, and Baker, I think, will replace Hicks and JOK. We'll see what happens. And in the secondary, if you look at the secondary under Jim Schwartz, 2 years ago, this was the #1 pass defense in football. They slipped to number 27 this past year for a lot of reasons. But they're already going to be missing Martin Emerson, one of their starting corners. 2 of their safeties that played a lot last year are gone. Juan Thornhill's in Pittsburgh. I think Rodney McLeod retired. So who's going to be the safeties, Jake? Ask me. Well, it's going to be Grant Delpit. He's been there, former LSU Tiger, had 108 tackles last year. Most of his production is in the box. I mean, he's in there at linebacker depth, like really close to you, Clay. He's a pretty damn good football player. Ronnie Hickman, an undrafted safety out of Ohio State, played some last year. I think right now he's penciled in as the other starter. But they also brought in Rayshawn Jenkins, Chargers, Seahawks, veteran good safety with some ball skills. I like the addition of him to give Cleveland 3 pretty good safeties. Now on the corner, the Browns are blessed to have one of the very best, if not the best corner in the NFL. Denzel Ward, another Ohio State Buckeye. Where was I yesterday, Jake?
Ohio State.
Woo! What a facility, what a place. He's one of the best. 19 PBUs, passes broken up last year. 2 picks. Don't mess around with Ward. He's been to 4 Pro Bowls, 17 career picks, 95 PBUs. What's a PBU?
Pass breakup.
You guys are quick learners, man. The other corner, if Emerson's out, who's it going to be? Possibly third-year man Cameron Mitchell. It might be second-year man Miles Harden. It could be a veteran Tony Brown. But there is competition and concern, I think, at the corner position. But I do know this. Greg Newsome, former first-round pick from Northwestern, I think he's a great nickel corner. So if he has to start outside, who becomes the nickel? That's the big concern. I think you're going to see Denzel Ward on the outside. I think they keep Newsome, hell of a player, in the slot, and it's going to be Harden, Mitchell, or Brown on the field at the other corner position to replace Emerson, and that's a big deal. I'll tell you why. Because if I'm the quarterback or coaching a quarterback, if I see Denzel Ward over there, Am I going to throw at him or some backup over here? Who, Clay?
The backup.
We're going to throw at the backup a lot. So they better get this thing resolved. I'm sure they're working on it. It'll be exciting to follow. But Cleveland has work to be done. They got some good young players to work with, but in this AFC North, they got a long way to go. One of the things the Browns have done over the years is run the ball. I can't wait to see Coach Stefanski go back to running the rock. And when you run the ball, you get a lot of heavy boxes and single safety defenses. And that's the perfect coverage to run all go. I love that play, all go. The outside receiver, in this case Tillman, runs a go route, and he'll end up about 3 to 4 yards from the sideline. Over here, these two tight ends, the outside tight end, he has to spray that release, haul ass, man, 3 to 4 yards from the sideline. We need that width to stretch this free safety. Now, the other two inside receivers, Jerry Jeudy, he'll slip that corner inside. He'll run right down the inside edge of the numbers. And Njoku, one of my favorite vertical receiving tight ends, he'll get a release and he'll run right down the seam on the inside edge of the other numbers. And whoever the quarterback is will look off the free safety. And in this case, you'll see a lot of free safeties favor Jerry Jeudy because he has 92 catches for 1,200 yards. And then you'll plug that seam ball to Njoku. And if you don't like either, the back will come through here. He'll have a check option as your outlet. But you get a single high defense, take a 5-step drop, move that free safety, and give David Njoku some 50-50 opportunities. He'll pay off for you. Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers, top of mind. Got a great head coach, Mike Tomlin. He's been around a long time. He's never had a losing season in 18 seasons. But in Pittsburgh, a good season and a great season are completely different things. A lot of people would be thrilled to make the playoffs and have a winning season, but Pittsburgh totally overhauled their roster. They went 0-5, including a playoff loss to the Baltimore Ravens. They got their ass kicked. The Ravens ran for almost 300 yards, and Pittsburgh only ran for 30. It was an ugly beatdown, and I think it forced general manager Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin to rethink their roster. They made significant changes. The one great thing about the Steelers that's consistent is the turnover ratio. They were plus 16 last year. That's great coaching and great playing, high effort. Plus 16. 33 takeaways is great. And 17 giveaways. That'll win you a lot of football games alone. But when you look at this roster overhaul, good God, it almost is uncommon, really uncommon for a playoff team. I mean, the first thing is, what's going on at quarterback in Pittsburgh? I mean, they got the same head coach, the same offensive coordinator, but they got rid of every quarterback on the roster last year. I mean, they got rid of Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Kyle Allen. Gone. And they brought in 3 new quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Skylar Thompson. They draft Will Howard. That is incredible. Normally, you get rid of the starter, but you keep some of the backups. But the Pittsburgh Steelers got rid of all their quarterbacks. They got rid of their feature back, Najee Harris, who had 4 seasons in a row of 1,000 yards. Cordero Patterson, gone. Their go-to receiver, George Pickens, and all that drama is gone. It's in Dallas. Van Jefferson, gone. They traded for the big receiver, Mike Williams, gone. They let Michael Pruitt, a tight end, go. Their starting left tackle, Dan Moore's in Tennessee. He's gone. And James Daniels, who did start before his injury at guard, is gone. That's just on offense. You guys feel me? Yes or no, Jake?
Yep.
Hell's bells. On defense, Larry Ogunjobi, Montavious Adams, 2 defensive linemen are gone. Preston Smith, who didn't play a lot, is gone at outside linebacker. Starting inside linebacker in their base defense, Landon Roberts is in Las Vegas. Dante Jackson, cornerback, gone. He started. Cam Sutton played over 200 snaps. He's gone. Minka Fitzpatrick played over 1,000 snaps. Gone. DeMonte Kizee is gone. And they also let a couple other obscure players go. But that's significant change in Pittsburgh. Well, who's coming in? Aaron Rodgers will be one of the biggest stories in the NFL. Does he still have it? Can he learn a new offense? This guy's one of the great pro quarterbacks in our lifetime. Skylar Thompson, another quarterback, has joined the team. He did start some games for the Dolphins last year. They brought Mason Rudolph back. Mason Rudolph was in Pittsburgh. He went to Tennessee. They brought him back. So they got 3 new veteran quarterbacks. They brought in Kenneth Gainwell, third down back from the Eagles. That'll make my friend Max at Barstool start screaming. Shit, Max, relax. Trey Sermon, another running back. They brought in DK Metcalf in a trade, second-round pick from the Seahawks. He'll be their number 1 receiver. They brought in the veteran Robert Woods to play receiver. They brought in Jonnu Smith, 88 catches for Miami last year, another tight end. They brought in a couple defensive linemen, veteran players. I'm working on their pronunciations. They're tough. It's a short week, man. I don't have time to get to them. They brought Malik Harrison in to play linebacker, the ex-Baltimore Raven. They brought in Jalen Ramsey, man, star corner of the Miami Dolphins. They brought in big play Darius Slay from the Philadelphia Eagles to be another corner. They also brought in Brandon Eccles, who's played in the league at corner. They brought in Juan Thornhill. Where's he from, Jake?
Virginia.
Holy cow, a Cavalier. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. He also started for the Cleveland Browns, and Chuck Clark came in as a free agent safety as well. I'm getting tired. We haven't even got into the offense and the defense. Hell, and then in the draft, they bring in Derek Harmon, a big defensive lineman out of Oregon, who also played 3 years at Michigan State. And I'm told he's walking in and he's starting right away. They brought in Caleb Johnson, Big Ten leading rusher at Iowa. I think he has the tools to be the go-to guy. He's a big back. They got Jack Sawyer. Where were we the other day? What college was I at? The Ohio State, man. He's a legend there. They got Jack Sawyer in the 4th round. They got this guy, Yaya Black. I like that name. Yaya Black. He's coming in there to play D-line. He'll chew up blocks. He'll be like Kiesel, one of those old-fashioned Steelers. They got my guy Will Howard in the 6th round, quarterback. And they got in some young defenders as well. But I want you to think about Omar Khan, be the GM of the Steelers. Think of the Steelers over the years. They've been pretty conservative, developing players, a lot of continuity. He says, hell with it. We're giving T.J. Watt the biggest contract in history. T.J. Watt got the biggest contract, more money than any player as a non-quarterback. Then he signed Aaron Rodgers. Then he signed Darius Slay. Then he traded a 2nd-round pick for DK Metcalf. Then he traded Minka Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. Then he says, hey, let's trade for Jonnu Smith. Then he goes out and he gets George Pickens traded to Dallas. And then he makes some more noise by letting Najee Harris go. He lets his start left tackle go. And all of a sudden you decide, is this desperation or is this freaking inspiration? What's going on in Pittsburgh? They have an urgency to win now. And their urgency is not to have another winning season. Think about this. Tomlin's done that 18 years in a row. They're not trying to win another winning season. They're trying to win it all right freaking now. They're going all in, and it's a desperate move, I think, to do that. They have not won a playoff game in 8 straight years. Compliment them for being in the playoffs. I also compliment them for digging their cleats in and going for it, man. I love this. They got to figure out the quarterback. Hell's bells. 4 different starting quarterbacks in 4 years. What they do have going is they have a lethal weapon. His name is Chris Boswell. Hey, Clay, you ever watch that movie Lethal Weapon?
Yeah.
It was Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Freaking A. Chris Boswell is the Steelers' #1 weapon. And you can say whatever you want to say. 41 out of 44 on field goals. 13 out of 15 were bombs over 50 yards. 35 for 35 on PATs. In the last 4 years, Chris Boswell is 34 for 40 on kicks of over 50 yards. That is a lethal weapon. Anyways, let's get into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's take a good look at them on offense. Break. Okay, let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. They're led by second-year offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. In year 2, normally as a coordinator of a team, you feel a lot more at ease. because you're putting your same plays in. The repetitions are the mother of learning, and guys are at ease because they know the system. But put yourself in Arthur Smith's shoes. This poor guy, he's got new offensive tackles because their right tackle went to left tackle. They inserted the injured guy from last year at right tackle. 2 new tackles, a new feature back, a new quarterback, a new go-to receiver. Holy cow, man. They got a lot to get done in a short period of time. A lot of change. The big thing is Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers working together. You got to teach Aaron Rodgers what we do. I'm teaching Aaron Rodgers what Arthur Smith does. Are you guys with me, Jake?
Yep.
We also got to ask Aaron Rodgers, hey, you play for 21 years. What do you like to do? Because we want to do that. I remember coaching a lot of veteran quarterbacks. And the first thing you got to do is do what they do best and kind of morph your system to his style. It'll be interesting to see how this works. Sometimes it works beautifully. Sometimes guys bash their heads into the wall like, holy shit, this ain't gonna work. It'll be interesting to watch. Anyways, what personnel will the Steelers use? Last year, they led the NFL with 13 personnel. That's 1 back, 3 tight ends. How many receivers, Clay?
1.
Boy, you're a quick learner. 15% of the time, they were in 13 personnel. They also used 12 personnel, a lot. Over 25% of the time, 1 back, 2 tight ends. How many receivers, Clay?
2.
So they like to use tight ends. I know that. 41% of the time, Pittsburgh used 2 or more tight ends. And now this year, they've added Jonnu Smith, who had 88 catches and 900 yards. So I look for Pittsburgh to be a big tight end operation. The one thing that's disappointing with Pittsburgh last year, who cares so much about last year? Because it's this year. But I will say this. Last year, this was a slow starting team. Real slow. Matter of fact, they've gone 19 straight games where they haven't scored a touchdown on the opening possession. That's not good. Only Seattle's done it longer than that at 21 games. Pittsburgh, if you're listening, Jersey Jerry, they only average 2.8 points a game in the first freaking quarter. And during their 5-game losing streak, they were outscored 47-3 in the first quarter. And when I was Bobby Knight's ball boy at Indiana, Bobby Knight used to talk about jumping on people in the first 5 minutes of the game. Get a lead, get the crowd off their ass, get everybody ignited. The Steelers don't do that. Their first down offense must improve. Last year on first down, they were last in the league. They only averaged 4.5 yards a play. Where's the explosive plays? Well, Antonio Brown is gone. Ben Roethlisberger, gone. Where the hell do you think the big plays went? Le'Veon Bell, gone. They also ran the ball 61% of the time on first down. They got to get this running game going. Let's take a look now at the quarterback position. We all know Aaron Rodgers. You want me to just stand here, Jake, and talk about his first ballot Hall of Fame stats? 503 touchdowns, 63,000 yards, 102.6 rating, the best ever. Is that what you want to hear? No. It's not what you have done, it's what will you do now. And that's the most exciting thing for me. I love Aaron Rodgers for 2 big reasons. The first thing he does, better than most guys I've ever seen, is he makes incredible game-changing plays with his feet. I mean, he gets out of trouble. He can unload it. He is a quick arm cat, man. But he gets out of trouble and creates plays, in game-changing plays, better than most guys. The second thing he does, he has the greatest contingency offense, arguably, in football. Over the years, he would recognize a blitz, he would wink his eye, and the route would change. Touchdown, Packers. I mean, this guy, his ability to read defenses, recognize problems, fix plays, it's legendary. Game-changing scramble plays, game-changing audibles. Well, where is he now at this point in his career? He's 41, 2 years off a serious Achilles injury. Can he still get out of trouble and make these magnificent plays? And in this new offense with Arthur Smith, with all these young linemen, all these new receivers and new backs, does he have the contingency firepower if he sees something? Can he wave his magic wand and will everybody be able to be on the same page. Think about that. The guy's a phenomenal talent. He had no OTAs. He just got there before the mandatory minicamp. He's 41 years old. He shows up in a dorm room in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania for training camp with a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator. Where is he at? It'll be so exciting to see. Last thing on Rodgers, which I think is the most important thing. You know, there's offensive head coaches and there's defensive head coaches. Not that anybody cares. I was an offensive head coach. I called the plays. I met with the quarterbacks every day. I used to drive them nuts. I probably am driving them nuts now and I'm not even coaching. But listen, when Aaron Rodgers was really kicking ass, he had Mike McCarthy, he had Matt LaFleur. Those guys collaborated on a day-to-day basis, and during the game, they were able to make split-second adjustments. Well, Mike Tomlin, as great as he is, he's a defensive coach. I don't think he's going to call the plays. I don't know what that battery is going to be like, but it's a lot different. Remember, Tomlin lost to Rodgers in the Super Bowl in 2011. Remember, Rodgers beat the Steelers in that Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to see if these two guys can get back to another one because neither one of them has been back since. You guys like that? Think about it. The other thing is the backup quarterbacks. It looks like it'll be Mason Rudolph. He returns. He threw for 1,500 yards, 9 TDs, 9 picks on a really bad Tennessee team last year. He's back. He spent 5 years with Tomlin as a third-round draft choice, has some experience. Skylar Thompson, we talked about, is battling for the job. And Will Howard, who won the national championship with Ohio State, started at Kansas State, won a Big 12 championship. He's big. He's got mobility. Threw for over 4,000 yards, 73%, and really ripped Oregon and tore up my Tennessee Vols, man. And then he won the national title. He's hurt right now because the defensive line, you got to stay away from the goddamn quarterback. He threw a pass, I think, in practice and hurt his hand. Anyways, keep an eye on Howard over the next several years. We have to have a long-term solution at quarterback. I mean, A-Rod's already come out and said, hey, this might be my last year. I heard A-Rod just got married a couple months ago. Congratulations on that, by the way. Let's talk about the running backs, because that's different too. I know there's a lot of information to unpack here with the Steelers. Najee Harris, I love this guy. We played against the Steelers. He had a great stiff arm. He could catch. He could run. I don't think he fit the Arthur Smith outside zone scheme. But 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Healthy young back. You let him walk to Los Angeles. Wow, that's tough. So it's going to be Jaylen Warren. And if you're a fantasy football fan out there, you might want to go all in on Jaylen Warren. This is a Charlie Garner type back. He's not a big back, but he's an all-purpose badass. As a rookie, he came out of nowhere. I think he's undrafted out of Oklahoma State. 2023, he had 748 yards rushing, and he caught 61 passes. Every time he came in a game, the fans would go, hey, he's in the game. Holy shit, he's in the game. Shut up. He was exciting. And then last year, hamstring during training camp. Then he hurts his ankle. You don't really see him a whole lot. And now, this is his shot of a freaking lifetime, man. He could come out of nowhere and explode onto the scene in Pittsburgh. Keep an eye on him. He's an excellent pass protector. He'll knock your ass off, man. If you're a linebacker or you're a defensive lineman, he'll chip you. I really like him. He has 1,700 yards in 3 years. He has a lot of receiving skill, and I think Aaron Rodgers has confidence in him. The other guy to look for is the rookie, Caleb Johnson from Iowa. We all know what kind of runner he is. 1,600 yards, 21 touchdowns at Iowa. Led the Big Ten. Big. Ran the outside zone for Kirk Ferentz, a great offensive head coach at Iowa. I should say offensive line coach, running coach. The only thing with Caleb Johnson, if you're going to compare him to Le'Veon Bell, let me see the receiving skills. Because Le'Veon Bell, he could catch flies in the night. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was a freaking badass catching the ball. You could put Le'Veon Bell in a no-back set. He could beat defensive backs. That guy was sweet. Don't compare anybody to Le'Veon Bell until I see the bell ring in the passing game. He's got to pick up blitzes. He's got to handle the passing game. because your quarterback is 41 years old coming off an injury. Knock on a grease board if you're with me. The other guy's Kenneth Gainwell. They got him from Philadelphia. He's a very good guy. We had him in here in the offseason. He's a hell of a third down back, great special teams player. They have two really good backs that can catch and pick up blitzes. So keep an eye on these two backs. They might play together in some rocket backfield situations and give the Steelers some firepower out of the backfield. At wide receiver, they have a new go-to guy. Remember, George Pickens, he's in Dallas now. So we'll let the Cowboys deal with all that. DK Metcalf comes over from Seattle for a second-round pick. Remember, he has 48 touchdowns in 6 seasons. 48. But his numbers since having 1,300 yards in 2020 have diminished slightly. Last year he had 992, only 4 touchdowns. But in Pittsburgh, he gets a new 5-year deal for $132 million. Wouldn't you like that, Jake?
Yep.
Wake up, you're making $30 million, and you're in Pittsburgh playing with Aaron Rodgers. They've spent a lot of time together. What is Metcalf's position versatility, and what is his route tree going to be in this offense? Whew, I can't wait to find out. But when you get $32 million, you should be able to line up at X, Z, F. You should be able to do it all and see a lot of targets. But he'll be the number one guy, and if I was a defensive coach, I'd try to take him away and see who else they got. Everybody knows Calvin Austin. Right now, he's the number 2 receiver. I call these guys the odd couple. Remember that movie, The Odd Couple, with Felix Unger and Jack Klugman? They were a messy, sloppy guy over here and a real neat freak over here. I mean, if you see DK Metcalf, he's like 6'4", 235 pounds. And he is like a chiseled freaking animal. I mean, this guy's a freaking stud. And then you see Calvin Austin, he's like 5'9", 162 pounds. It's like the odd couple. Completely different receivers. This Calvin Austin, he can punt return. You hand him the ball in a jet sweep. He has great speed and quickness, but he's light and slight. This guy is big and fast. It'll be really cool to see how they utilize those two. But the guy I'm most excited about, and I am nuts, is I freaking love Roman Wilson. I loved him at Michigan, man. 2023, he wins the national championship. He doesn't catch a million passes, but he scores 12 touchdowns, and they're big plays. And if you watch the preseason game the other night against my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he goes on top for about a 45-yard gain. The guy's a hell of a player. So if they go to 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 back, how many receivers, Clay?
3.
You're going to see Calvin Austin, DK Metcalf, and I think you're going to see a lot of Roman Wilson. He is a hell of a player. And their receiver coach, Zach Azzani, he's a good friend of mine, you know. He loves this because everybody right now is saying, hey, the Steelers don't have any wideouts, man. Bullshit. Wait till you see Roman Wilson. And I know DK Metcalf, and I do know that Calvin Austin, used strategically right, can really be a force. They also brought in Robert Woods. They still have Scotty Miller. I even saw this Brandon Johnson guy, number 11, go up and get a touchdown the other night. So they have some good receivers. Their tight ends are going to be the big part of this offense. I think we've already said they're going to use 2 at a time, maybe 3. Now, if they do that, some of these receivers are going to be on the sideline pissed off. I used to call plays, you know. I'd go 13 personnel. There's only 1 wideout in the game. I'd have Tim Brown and Jerry Rice looking at me, hey, who's coming out of the game? You taking me out of the game? You go through a lot of stuff. But Pat Freiermuth is a hell of a tight end. He reminded me of their old Steeler, Heath Miller. He had 65 catches, 653 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He is a very efficient, real tight end. He can block the C gap, he can pass protect, he can run routes and score touchdowns. They get Jonnu Smith, who's like a Arthur Smith family member. I mean, freaking Jonnu played for Arthur Smith in Tennessee. He played for Arthur Smith in Atlanta. He goes to New England, he goes to Miami, and now they traded for Jonnu Smith, who had 88 catches, 884 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He went to the Pro Bowl last year. So Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith plan to be a big part of this offense. They also have Darnell Washington from Georgia. I was just at Georgia. God, they got the best looking team every year. Darnell Washington, I'm kind of waiting for this guy to start knocking people sideways. He had 19 catches, 200 yards, all these statistical bullshit things right here, but Washington, he's the guy that can really make this running game go because he can block. He's got to block better, though. I think his standard needs to be a lot higher. They also have Cam Hayward's brother, Connor Hayward. I think he'll make the team again. They might keep 4 tight ends because Hayward can play fullback. He can get in the backfield and be the lead dog, kind of like the Ravens have with Patrick Ricard. I think the Steelers keep 4 tight ends. The O-line is the last issue, and there's still a lot to unpack here. This is a young offensive line. The left guard, Isaac Seumalo, okay, he has 90 career starts. He plays left guard. That we know. Now, their former first-round pick, Broderick Jones, moved from right tackle to left tackle. 27 career starts is all he has. All of them have been at right tackle. That means he's never started at left tackle. And I'll say this, as much as I love this guy's athletic ability and his playing style and his toughness, he has really struggled, man, over here at right tackle. 66 pressures allowed last year. That's a lot. He also had some penalties that were inexcusable. They benched him last year at right tackle for a little while. Now he's the opening day starter at left tackle. Would that concern you, Clay?
It would.
Got a lot to prove here. We want to keep an eye on that. 20 pounds lighter this year, but he's never started a game in the NFL at left tackle. But I think that is his natural position. Now, Troy Fautanu. I love this guy at University of Washington. He only played 1 game last year. He got hurt. He was out for the year, dislocated his kneecap. He's going to be the opening day right tackle. It sounds like they have 2 first-round picks, badasses, anchoring the end of the offensive line. But they got a lot to prove. Never played left tackle in the NFL. This will be his first start at right tackle. The center is only in his 2nd year. Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, good player, but he's got to play a lot better. Mason McCormick is a 2nd-year player at right guard. 15 starts for Frazier, 14 starts for McCormick. There's 1 start for this guy and no starts at left tackle for this guy. Woo! That's a lot to unpack, isn't it, for the Steeler offense? I hope they come out flying. Start fast, get some confidence, and look out. Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers on defense. I'm still exhausted from talking about the offense, but the defense has as many changes as the offense. They still have Coach Austin running the defense. In his first 4 years, the Steelers have only given up 19 points a game, and they've taken the ball away 83 times, which is awesome. 53 interceptions in Coach Austin's first 4 years. That's tied with the 49ers for the most. They have a lot of new secondary players. They have some new guys on the D-line. They also have 2 new coaches to help Coach Austin. They have a new secondary coach, Gerald Alexander. They brought in a new linebacker coach, Coach Scott McCurley. So they have changed some coaches as well as players to get this thing right. This is a team that historically stops the run. I mean, you try to run the ball against Pittsburgh, I've had people say, what do, man? Are you dumb? Are you an idiot? Why would you run against the Steelers? Throw it on every down. Well, they've given up only 98 yards a game last year. But in the 2 games they played the Baltimore Ravens, Houston, we have a problem, man. 299 yards, the Ravens. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson ripped them and ended their season. They ran for 220 in another game against the Steelers. So this Baltimore problem has forced the Steelers to change their mindset. Coach Austin blitzes on first down 32% of the time. Last year on second down, he blitzed 30% of the time. That's above average on those downs. Normally you don't see that much blitz. And on third down, he only blitzed 17% of the time. That was the least in the NFL. So it's interesting to see what causes these tendencies that are a little bit uncommon with the Steelers. Think about this. This is why statistics are misleading. Think about it. The first 10 games last year, Pittsburgh gives up 16.2 points per game. They give up only 305 yards a game. Oh, the Steelers are great. The Steelers are great. Well, in the last 6 games, during that 5-game losing streak, they gave up almost 27 points a game and 370 yards a game. What was the difference? Bad defense? Or was it because you saw Joe Burrow twice and Lamar Jackson twice and Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley once? And then, oh God, we got to see Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid on a short week. You measure your defense against the best teams, Jake. You got me? Yep. That's one of the problems with the Steelers. They play good enough to get in, but when they get into playoffs against the great teams, they don't play as well. And I think that's why you're seeing the infusion of veteran players that can win these big games when they get to them. The defensive line coached by Carl Dunbar has got to be the strength of this outfit. And they're led by arguably one of the greatest defensive linemen I have ever seen play. A lot of people, Gruden, you're all full of shit. Cam Hayward is a freaking wrecking ball. He's like blocking an excavator, man. Number 97, I think he's 104 years old. I saw a great beard on the guy. Hell, the guy still played 71% of the time. He should have been the comeback player of the year. He's voted all-pro. He has 8 sacks. When he's in the game, you don't make yards. 3.6 yards a carry. When he comes out of the game, you give up 5 yards a carry. This guy, I've seen him take human beings, offensive guards, and get rid of them like gone, like a sack of groceries. This guy here is a bitch. He is a great player. They got to have some people that can take some of the volume off of him. Let's play him a little bit less so we'll have a lot more effectiveness. We don't want to wear him down. He'll be one of the defensive ends. The other defensive end will be a rookie named Derek Harmon. They took him in the first round out of Oregon, but he really played 3 years at Michigan State. You know, all these guys playing about 5 college teams, hell's bells. But Harmon is big. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. He's going to play in a very similar defense and a similar position for the Steelers that he played at Oregon. He's an excellent player. Coach Dunbar has come out and really praised this kid in the media. He had 10.5 tackles for loss last year, 55 pressures. But I write that word, finish. There's a lot of plays that he's got to finish and clean up. Don't just get pressure, get the guy on the ground. But I like Harmon. Keanu Benton is another good young Pittsburgh Steeler. He's in his 3rd year now. Benton played 43% of the plays as a rookie and 59% of the plays last year. He plays on the center, head up in their base defense. And then when they go to their nickel package, he plays over the guard. So it'll be Hayward and Benton playing inside. I think Benton has got to do a little bit what Harmon needs to do. He's got to finish. He's only got 1 sack in each of his first 2 years. Yeah, he had 24 pressures. He's got to finish the play. Don't just get pressure. Get the guy on a doggone ground. But I like the youth. I like the experience of Hayward. It's exciting. They also brought in Yahya Black, big guy out of Iowa. He'll give them some early down run stuffing play, and they're going to rotate to keep Hayward fresh. They still have Isaiah Loudermilk, number 92, who played pretty good last year. And then the edge players of the Steelers. These are the notable guys. I mean, they have heat coming off the edge. They're led by their superstar, TJ Watt, who just got a 3-year, $123 million contract. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in football. Why do you think Trey Hendrickson wants a new deal? This guy, since he came into the league, has 108 sacks, man, in 8 years. Only Reggie White, my friend, had more, 124, and DeMarcus Ware had 111. But this guy, TJ Watt, do you know in the last 2 years, he has forced 10 fumbles? I mean, they're playing the Raiders, my old team, twice. Boof! He knocks a ball out and ends a freaking game. That guy's a phenomenal player. But one thing to think about with the Steelers when you watch them this year, when you watch Pittsburgh, TJ Watt lines up on the right tackle 95% of the time. 95% of the time. So I think down the stretch, backs were sent that way, tight ends were over there chipping. He's 95% of the time over here on the offense's right. they may start moving him around to try to free the guy. Maybe they put him over the guard. Maybe they find a candy bar up front that he can take a big bite out of. Look for that this year. The other guy they have is Alex Highsmith. You know, Alex Highsmith in 2022 had 14 and a half sacks. Did you know that, Jake?
I did.
They paid him a contract, and then in 2023, he missed 7 games. And then in 2024, as good as he's playing, he missed 6 more games. But in the last 4 years, Alex Highsmith has 35 sacks, and he's missed 13 freaking games, man. This guy's a hell of a player. And then they draft Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. You remember Sawyer running down the field, beating Texas with that dramatic game-changing play, game-ending play? Physicality, strength, and effort. 9 sacks at Ohio State. He had 4.5 sacks in the playoffs. So they have a nucleus of dudes now coming off the edge. And at inside linebacker, they have a new position coach, but they got a lot of speed. Landon Roberts, who was a run-stuffing thumper, he left town, went to the Raiders. So it's going to be Patrick Queen. Queen is one of 3 linebackers to have over 100 tackles, 5 or more tackles for loss, 5 or more passes broken up in the last 3 years. So this guy's productive. I just want to see Queen improve overall in coverage, zone and man. I think they can get better underneath in coverage. And I love Peyton Wilson. See all those pluses right there, Clay?
I do.
That's a Gruden grinder guy. If you get 3 pluses, man, you're a Gruden grinder. This guy played 45% of the snaps last year and was 4th on the team in tackles. He had 71 tackles. He had an interception, a forced fumble. This guy's a hell of a player, and he's fast and instinctive. I love Queen and Wilson. And then they bring in Malik Harrison, a former starter from the Ravens, to get depth and maybe give him some run-stuffing, good stuff on the early downs. And this guy right here, if you star this guy, here's a guy for everybody back home to root for. Cole Holcomb. He was a good player for the Washington, whoever you call them, Redskins, I called them. Football team? Commanders? What the hell? Cole Holcomb was a hell of a player for Washington. He comes over, he's a starter for the Steelers in 2023, but he gets hurt. He hurts that knee, misses the last 9 games. Then he missed all the plays last year. He's back. He's a badass, man. If you got Holcomb, Harrison, Wilson, and Queen, what? Highsmith, Herbig, Hayward, now you got Harmon? Whew. What the hell? That sounds exciting. Now let's look at the secondary. New secondary coach, we talked about it. Gerald Alexander. They have let 4 defensive backs go that played a lot of football. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Dante Jackson, Cameron Sutton, Kazee, they're all gone. But what they did is they went out and acquired some guys that are experienced, that have a lot of guts. They brought in freaking Darius Big Play Slay from the Eagles. 6 Pro Bowls, world champion corner. And when you play man-to-man against Darius Slay, you complete 42% of the passes. And I think Tomlin wants to play more man-to-man, challenge these receivers. Don't let Joe Burrow come in there and just check it down and get a lot of high percentage completions. 28 career picks, a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence with Big Play Slay. Then they go out and get Jalen Ramsey. This guy can play nickel, he can play corner, he can play safety. He is a hell of a player. 34 years old. I think Jalen's 30 now. But I think Jalen Ramsey, if you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, he's going to be much like Rod Woodson was when he became a Pittsburgh Steeler late in his career. He'll play multiple positions. He'll play free safety in their base defense. He'll play nickel back on 2nd and 10. He'll play right corner on 3rd and 8. He'll be a great Pittsburgh Steeler. So the addition of these 2 corners, Slay and Ramsey, to go with Joey Porter, who now will be in his 3rd year, I love that. Porter's just got to eliminate the penalties. I know everybody's got the Pro Football Focus. 17 penalties, 6 in 1 game against Cincinnati. Hey, leave the guy alone, man. The guy's a hell of a young corner. You got Porter and Slay and Ramsey, and all 3 of these guys are going to be on the field. I don't give a shit what the offense does. I don't care if they come out at jumbo. I don't care if they come out in anything. Those guys are playing. They also have Beanie Bishop, who had 4 picks. He's a good nickel back. They signed Brandon Eccles, another veteran guy to do a lot of different things. And then it's the safety position as well. They bring in Juan Thornhill from Cleveland. Everybody goes, oh, we got a guy from Cleveland. Shit, man, this guy started for the world champion Chiefs twice. He was a part of 2 Super Bowl champions. You know, in his first 4 years, he had 8 picks, 240 tackles with the world champions. Went over to Cleveland, struggled, got some injuries. Now he's going to play in the post with Deshaun Elliott. A lot of GGs right here. Gruden grinder. You see that, Clay? GG. Second on the team with 103 tackles. This is a badass right here. He forced 3 fumbles, had a pick. They gave him a new contract because Deshaun Elliott, all right, he has the playing style of a Pittsburgh Steeler. I mean, you run the ball up in there, boom, you heard that noise? That was Elliott making that noise. Run it over there, pow! That's Elliott. This guy's a freaking train. But I will say this, the Steelers have the corners now to challenge wide receivers. They will challenge themselves too, and they will challenge the guy next to them. I love the personality of Ramsey, Slay, and Porter with Elliott and Thornhill together. Whew, I would not want to play against this defense. It'll be interesting. I think the strength of Aaron Rodgers' game has always been RCE. His ability to recognize defenses, communicate the best possible play, which led to high levels of execution. I keep hearing Arthur Smith isn't going to let him audible at the line of scrimmage. Well, I'm watching the Steelers carefully in the preseason against Tampa, and I see Mason Rudolph playing, and one of the first things I see is Mason Rudolph recognizing quarters coverage. 4 deep zone. 4 guys back here for Tampa. He sees it, and I see Rudolph go like this. Then I see Scotty Miller in the slot go like that. Then I see the receiver, Roman Wilson, go like that. They're recognizing the defense. They're communicating audibles to attack the defense, which is what Aaron Rodgers does. They take their tight end, Washington, they run a stick out. They bring Scotty Miller on a 12 to 14-yard basic. And these 2 defenders, they play in and out to cover them. And in quarters coverage, the safety collapses on the 12-yard break-in. Well, Roman Wilson, he has a post route. He runs the corner down. He steps right on his toes, runs the post, and Mason Rudolph shreds him, man. It's a perfect play against cover 4. He recognized it, he communicated it, and it made me feel like Aaron Rodgers is getting the offense in place to suit his style.